Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Ask Us Anything. Don't know about you guys, but there's been a little bit of Tesla news around, particularly around their inclusion to the S&P 500. Pete, you're the full bottle on this. Would you like to explain?
Yeah, very interesting. I've got a bit of a theory from what the S&P committee have done and the way they've structured it. Tells me two things. It's just a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it's potentially telling me that they don't want a big run up in the stock, A, or B, they feel like it will just be punters and people who don't know what they're doing getting the price up. And maybe it's their opinion that the stock is overvalued, but they have to include it. So what they're trying to do is keep a lid on it as much as possible. And the way you do that in the markets, the two things that drive demand and supply in the markets are number one, time, and number two, certainty or uncertainty. And they've hit them with both. So the average inclusion into the index, the time between the announcement and the inclusion is usually around sort of the 7-10 day mark. So they've given them 35 days. And they've asked for opinions as to how they should do it, which is apparently not that unusual. But what is unusual is that they're doing it in two trenches. So one potentially on the 14th of December, the second one on the 21st of December. And but no one actually knows whether it will be. So that they've given three options: so the 25% on the 14th, and 75% of the free float on the 21st, or 50-50, or 33 and 66% or 67% roughly. So yeah, there couldn't be more uncertainty around it, and there couldn't be more time. So yeah, they've hit them with both.
It's really interesting, this double tranche thing. You could almost say that perhaps they expect the first tranche to be a certain price, but then the second tranche will be dearer. But would it make their index look better because they could capture some of that rise as a return?
Yeah. They have to. All those funds that stick to the S&P 500 have got to buy the certain number of shares to be the percentage as per the value of the company within the 500, which means they've got to buy some hundreds of millions of shares in order to have it at the right ratio, because Tesla will be the single biggest company in there, just about, certainly the top 10, I think.
They do need to basically follow. Well, if they profess to be an S&P fund, effectively a mirroring fund, then they do. Or sorry, some funds, their remit is to actually just simply follow the S&P 500. That's what their constitution is done to do. But there is a little
index funds.
The index funds, yes. But they are able. There is a little bit of wiggle room, so they don't have to do things instantly. So they can, at their own sort of, risk.
It depends on each fund.
Yeah,
it depends on the constitution of each fund, but it is fairly normal to have a couple of weeks. At the end of the day, if they don't follow the index closely, they're hurting themselves, and the fund manager potentially faces being fired if he's too far away from the index. So that's the only reason why I'd buy the index, is for the funds to be very closely correlated with the index. So
there's two exposures, isn't there? There's a proportion of Tesla shares that need to be purchased by index funds, but there are also another greater proportion potentially that need to be purchased by other funds that follow the index. Is that how it goes, Pete?
Yeah, or any other fund that has Tesla in its portfolio. So, but yeah, absolutely. So index funds and ETFs, generally exchange traded funds. So they might have a broader, they might try and aim for a broader correlation with perhaps not an index, or, but perhaps it's a geographical fund, or maybe it's a industry fund, so technology, or it's a, AI fund, or a car fund, or, what have you. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. And obviously it's going to be good for the price. I mean, Tesla's price jumped up, I think 13%, but then it sort of, it fell back a little bit. So I think it closed about 430 roughly. No, 441.61
Yeah, correct.
last night. And I'm not sure what the pre-open is.
It's jumped up this morning, this afternoon.
Oh
So
yeah,
gapped up.
454. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Currently it's 454.
It opened at 408 or thereabouts.
You mean yesterday?
Yeah.
Right. Yes, but if you look at Nasdaq on the they've currently got the pre-open and it's at 454 and it closed at 441 this morning.
So you got up to 460 something as well in the meantime.
Yeah, well, obviously there are day traders getting in and out of it, and you know, who really knows what's going to do in the next few weeks. I mean, what do you reckon, Pete? We're going to go up from here. I guess there's going to be a bit of a squeeze on, and it's going to put a bit of pressure on the short sellers, surely.
True, that there isn't as many short sellers out there. So Tesla was famous for being one of the most shorted stocks on the market at about 25% of its free float, which is, yeah, extremely high. I think it's only about a fifth of that now. So yeah, a lot of the short sellers have burned away, or burnt away. But yeah, look, as far as the index fund buying, so these are the funds that essentially have to own it because of Tesla's size, and if they don't own the stock, they just won't have any chance of, especially because of how volatile it is, won't have much of a chance of following the index closely. So these funds have to buy the stock, and once they buy it, they have to hold it. So it's about 15% of the free float that at some point at or before or after the 21st of December, you would think a week or two prior or after, that those shares won't be available to be bought. So as far as supply is concerned, supply is going to be reduced by that amount.
Yeah, so it's basically turning those shares illiquid and they're not available anymore. So it should actually then obviously tighten up supply. Well, it will tighten up supply.
Exactly. It's the same as if Elon was to buy them and stick them away. So.
Yeah, I think that was a note that was made is, I think the current free float market cap is about 380 billion. And of course, that's because they exclude insider shares. Yeah, insider shares such as Elon Musk and various executives where they're on. John, go.
Yeah, I've got a non-share question.
Yes, go.
Yeah. Charging Tesla cars question.
Yes, go.
Is it okay to change the subject?
You already did. Yeah, go, John. It's all good. We can jump around. It's all good.
Right, because I'm a non-Tesla share. I don't have any Tesla stock, right? So.
Well, there's your problem.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Actually, what's the biggest risk in buying Tesla stock is actually not being on the register, right? So yeah, I get that.
Historically speaking, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. Look, I've got nothing to say about that, right? But
so charging.
So I've been doing a bit of charging of cars, and I've had a lot of support from a lot of the community coming in, and we're building some charging stuff going on. And even Nigel here tonight, he came down today or yesterday, and we couldn't get above 40 kilowatts. And guess what? The charger, the V-Fuel was already limited to 40 kilowatts. So it's been changed to 50 kilowatts. And I'm happy to say that it's the VegPod Mark II is now 50 kilowatt capable. I charged my Kona today, did a test, and it's all good. So
I can come back and get more free electrons if you like.
Nigel, you're welcome anytime, mate. All right. As long as my guy up at the Chinese restaurant keeps bringing the veg oil down, you can come down and get some free electrons. They're carbon neutral, right? Carbon neutral. So
But I think it's a brilliant system you've got there, John.
Fantastic.
And now all we need is for every roadhouse in the state to want one or two.
well, I think it's kind of nearly ready to roll out. Like it's got a few little glitches got to sort out, but it actually kind of works. So we could get it out into all these roadhouses and we can use it. And
Hey, John, quick question. How would you know the numbers of what an average roadhouse would throw away in terms of used oil? And
well, I don't know about the remote roadhouses, right? But I've got statistics from the two roadhouses I've developed a relationship with is Caltex at Jurien Bay and the Puma at Arthur River. So those two roadhouses are halfway to Geraldton, halfway to Albany, and they produce 50 litres of waste veg oil per week, right? So both of them.
that's not enough, is it? That's nowhere near enough, is it?
Well, when you work it all out, it's one EV charge per day.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the current rate of charging EVs is about one per 7 to 10 days at both sites.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more than enough.
So there's more oil being produced than there is EVs want to charge.
So how many litres per kilowatt hour do you have a?
Yeah, I've got all those numbers. So the diesel, if you're running it on diesel, it's you get 3.3 kilowatt hours per litre.
Okay, so you probably get less on the veggie oil, I presume.
Veg is about 2.8 kilowatt hours per litre, right? But 3.3 kilowatt hours per litre of diesel, but diesel costs you $1.50 or used to, it might be $1.20 now. So that's why at Arthur River I've got to charge 90 cents, which everyone grizzles about. But as soon as we can get on the veg doesn't cost you anything. So we can bring the price back comparable with, like 40 or 50 cents, it doesn't matter, right? But the competition's coming in. We've got Tesla putting in supercharger at Williams, and we've also got Synergy putting one in at Kojonup. So I'm getting squeezed out, which is not a problem, right? That's what we want. We want. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing it to get charging facilities in place, right? So, so it's all good, right? What's happening is good. It's not commercial, but charging on veg oil is carbon neutral. That's the only good thing about it. So,
yeah,
And the good thing is that John upgraded the Jurien Bay charger to a tritium V-fuel. So for the Model 3s who are having issues, or other cars in general, now the Jurien Bay site is completely compatible with all EVs, which is awesome.
Right.
So, John, does that mean we're going to be taking the veg pod to Bunbury?
We're not taking veg to Bunbury. We don't need it there, Andrew. We've got enough firepower. For those that don't know what's going on in Bunbury, we're finishing off the Targa West campaign in Bunbury on the 5th of December. And it's a one-day event. We're going down there with the green theme, and there's a couple other races emerged out of the system in Model 3s. And we're going to take a couple of charging assets down there, and we're going to get all those three cars through the race, which is going to be great. So,
In the same category still in the 135.
I don't
So
think
130.
I don't think there's any categories, Andrew. Is there? There's just it's
No,
coast and road. It's
Yeah, this is a sprint round, so I don't think
Oh.
it's kind of like
this is like a sprint. We're
Yeah.
going down the industrial area. Everyone goes flat out as they want. You can't get to 130 because it's just all closed streets, square corners around the industrial area.
Yeah.
And you know what? The thing that I've heard tonight, which was great, is this event was oversubscribed. Right, they limited like 100 entries or something, and they had 140 entries wanting to get in there. And then the two guys, who was it, Andrew? It was
Darren and Nigel.
Darren and Nigel got Model 3s, won a race, and they couldn't get an entry. And we said, look, wait list, and just identify the wait list as electric, Model 3. And you know what? Targa West pushed them to the front because
that's excellent.
Because guys because a lot of times the petrol guys book their entry, but then they haven't got the parts, haven't got the engines, haven't got all the turbos, haven't got all the superchargers, all the bullshit they need to, and then they pull out at the last minute. So they have a lot of cancellation last minute. And we told these guys, book your entry, and they both got it. They're in. Both are in for the 5th. And they're good. They're good guys. They're both keen racers. They want to race. They're coming to my place, putting high temperature brakes pads on their cars, and they go.
I want to do that as well, John. Not necessarily to race, but yeah.
Oh, you want to put the high temperature brake pads?
Absolutely, and the high temperature fluid, maybe even possibly, and the lines. Because I've got a performance, but it's a stealth, so it's got the standard brakes. And I set them on fire a couple of weeks ago. So,
well, we can do the brake pads. We order them. They're about $1,000 or whatever. I'm not sure what they are. To do all 4 wheels. And look, it's easy. Just put on the hoist, take all the wheels off. It's not a problem. So,
but I wanted to keep them. Sorry, I wanted to keep my 18 inches on there. So do you have to file it, because you guys had to file? Was it your? What did you have to file back to fit it into the 18s?
Well, I've got performance. What do you call it? The track pack performance brakes, right? So the big red coloured calipers, and my car comes with a 20-inch wheels, right?
Oh, I thought you were running 18s.
Well, we are, but if you take the 20-inch wheels off and try to put 18-inch Tesla wheels on, they don't fit. So you have to modify the brake calipers slightly. Not much. It's not much. Like it's a razor blade thickness of material, and then because now we're running the Tesla 18-inch wheels on the performance vehicle. So
yeah. So maybe, Pete, would that mean that you just go for enhanced brake pads and not actually change the calipers, so then you won't have that problem?
What you got? You got the red calipers, Pete, or what?
No, I've got, so my car's a performance, but it's without the performance package. So it doesn't. So the wheels are the same as on the standard range plus or on the long range.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about the calipers because the red calipers are definitely bigger and chunkier than the.
Yeah. No. I don't have those. Definitely. Yeah.
Come around one day. We'll have a look. We can just take the wheels off, have a look, check it out. It's not a problem.
Excellent. We'll do.
Just make sure he puts the right wheels back on there, Pete.
Yeah.
You know, John might like your rims better than his.
And wear a mask because it smells like a fish and chip shop down there.
Oh, come on.
Lots of seagulls hanging around, or what?
dear.
What's wrong with free charging? What's wrong with that? It's okay.
Wasn't at all.
Do you know, John, the funny thing is that me and my mates, we used to run our diesels on chip fat, on just cooking oil that we got cheaply from the, from the bulk discount place, just because we were poor. It was 42 pence a litre there, or it was £1 a litre of diesel at the pump.
Yeah.
So it was easier to get my mate's Costco card and and do that. So this is come full circle.
I'm actually surprised how well the diesel runs on it, right? Like it just, I thought
we used to sometimes throw a litre of paint thinner in there to thin it out again. So great for the environment.
That's almost as bad as putting toluene, which I guess it probably is toluene or something like that in petrol.
Yeah.
In the old days.
Horrendous.
So, John, there was a setting incorrect inside the tritium, was there, this morning?
Yeah, actually, I called up Tritium and it had been limited to 40 kilowatts. So it's now 50 kilowatts. I got them to reset to 50 kilowatts. And it started to, I don't know if you noticed in Perth today, it started to rain a little bit, drizzle was going on. But I went out there with a Kona, I put the Kona on there and I whacked it in and I got the full whack, got the full 50 kilowatts happening.
Good.
It's not a problem. Yeah. So it was the charger settings was the problem.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Did you fix your oil leak?
no, it's a little problem I need to investigate. It's only minor at this point in time, but haven't discovered what that is yet. So TBA at this point.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
Peter. Thanks, Pete, for coming down and giving us a hand, bringing us
Pleasure.
a low
Thank you for the
battery.
electrons.
Bring us a low battery to charge. Everyone's got full batteries these days.
There's too much solar and free charging around. Everyone's just full as a good.
Exactly.
So,
I've got
John,
10%.
that would have explained why I only got 37 kilowatts charging the other day. I can't even remember. It was yesterday.
Yeah, Nigel, exactly. Yeah, because we were limited to 40 kilowatts. That's fixed. Swing by again, Nigel. We'll give it another squirt.
Yeah, well, I will when I'm needing a free charge. I mean, to help you out.
Volunteer your time.
Hey, Nigel, either or, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Swing by.
No, I mean, I use about 10% battery getting up there and 10% back, which is 20%. And you gave me about 8%.
Well, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
You won, John. You won.
Cheap Charlie. I'm cheap Charlie, right? So it's okay.
That's a bit like us older car owners that have got unlimited free supercharging. And if we left home at 100%, we get to Bunbury at about 50%. If you charge back up to 100% in Bunbury, we get back to Perth with 50%. So we'd leave with half of what we left with. Oh, sorry, we'd arrive with half of what we left. So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
I think we should invite the other people on the call. That several here I don't know. There's Cam, I don't know. Shirley.
Cam, I think Cam's new. Welcome. Is this your first time? I think.
Yeah. Thanks, Harold. Yeah, it is. So we, I think I've mentioned before. I bought one of the green cables to be able to charge at the shopping centres with.
Yep.
A while, but so yeah, I've got a 2015 85D that we've had for a couple of years. I bought as a tester, but just took delivery of a 3 Performance, and I'm waiting on my X. I don't even have a VIN number yet. I ordered that in July.
Yep.
Performance as well, but so yeah, I've pretty much got a fair amount of it covered, as well as, luckily at home we got 3-phase and about 13 kilowatts of solar. At work I get 10 kilowatts of solar and 3-phase. So that side of it's all right. It's really, I've been down south on the RAC chargers with the old S and the CHAdeMO adapter, and that's all worked really, really well. But I'd got no idea with the 3 and the CHAdeMO whether that actually works or what can.
No. Yes. Okay. So the short answer is no, because even though the older cars, or sorry, even though the S's and X's have a dual mode whereby they can push AC and fast DC through the same pins, the 3s have a combination, a CCS2 combination socket.
Yep.
So the top part is the standard Monique's type AC section, and then beneath that there are the 2 large DC pins. So the CHAdeMO adapter is completely incompatible with 3s.
Right.
And at the moment, except for one location, which is in Nanup, all the other RAC fast DC chargers are currently incompatible with Teslas, basically, in using CCS.
Yeah. Okay.
Having said that, the Nanup station, Tokwa retrofitted it on Sunday as a test for a fix, and thankfully that fix seems to have been quite effective.
So is that a CCS2 cable that you put on there?
CCS2 with CCS2. So we had a Model X charge there, and also more importantly a Model 3, and both of those cars charged at full rate and did so successfully.
Where was that, Harold? Sorry.
Nanup.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Nanup is sort of in the middle of nowhere in that.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
I'll just bring it up on PlugShare so you can see where it is.
Why was Nanup the first one to have a go?
At Nanup?
Yeah.
Yeah, when was that? Andrew?
No, why did Nanup get upgraded first?
Because it's in the middle of nowhere.
There's a technical reason, but there's a technical reason.
Political reason. Nanup's good. Nanup's good.
I'm just biting my tongue because that's the right thing to do. So
understood.
So Nanup is this. Oh, sorry, I've got to share the screen.
Hey, Cam, just to let you know, so Tesla, the Model 3 is technically still compatible with CHAdeMO, but you've got to buy an adapter, and it's this big, heavy, huge thing, which is incredibly expensive.
I've actually got one of those that came with the S.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's how I've been charging with the S at the RAC chargers, was using this big Canon-like CHAdeMO adapter. And that worked really well. I think that was, I can't remember how much it was giving, but it was certainly enough.
Yeah, but Pete and Cam, the issue there is that the CHAdeMO adapter that Tesla has produced for here puts the DC through the Type 2 connector.
Yes, okay.
The AC pins, not the DC pins. So
not getting the speed.
What you would actually need is a sort of reverse adapter where it would actually then pull it out of the AC pins and put it to an adapter that goes into the DC pins.
Yep.
So you'd have to have like an inline adapter to the adapter.
So like a reverse CCS2 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the protocol's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the actually the protocol might be an issue, but actually it probably would be an issue. So yeah, it's basically incompatible.
Right.
So
and a really dumb question. The newer Model X's, because I haven't ever looked at them. They come with the CCS2, or they come with the older style?
Well, no, they come with the older style, so the Monique's style. But they have you get it for free, an inline adapter.
Right.
Which is about the size. Well, yeah, I've got it in the car. It basically then converts the large. So I'll show you if I just share this screen now. If you have a look at the Type 2, that's what the S's and X's basically have.
Yes.
But this is what the Model 3s have, the CCS.
Yep.
Right. So there's actually an adapter that will convert this to that.
Right. Okay.
In line, and it's quite clever the way it does it. It latches and all that sort of stuff. So that's for S's and X's, which if you buy a new one now, you get this physical adapter for free. If you've got an old car, such as your 2015 S,
Yep.
you can actually now, at a reduced price, buy the upgrade kit, which includes the physical adapter plus a module that has to be fitted inside the car at the service center. And that
Right.
now costs $480. And once you've got that, you won't need your CHAdeMO adapter, except in most of these RAC places at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
until this retrofit has been deployed
Mhm.
sometime in the future.
Yep.
But basically NANUP, so NANUP is basically working, and you can see from this image here that basically this is a Model 3 that was
Yep.
charging at 41 kilowatts.
Yep.
And that was on Sunday.
Excellent.
So that was an awesome effort by Joseph to go and prove at short notice that it was working on Model 3s.
Mm.
And they're the critical people, basically the critical owners who at the moment have no chance of charging at any of the RAC, fast DC charging at any of these RAC chargers.
Yep.
To
NANUP
be fair,
as well.
though,
Sorry?
to be fair, the second Joseph heard that was working, he would have been there in a second anyway.
Yeah, but he had to do a 3-hour drive. So
Yeah, that's Joseph, isn't it? He just
yeah,
does
that's
that all
right.
the
Yeah,
time.
well, hats off to him for doing it. And by the way, you'll notice that there's the spanner at Kojanup. So this is Synergy's thing that John mentioned a little bit earlier, which looks like that. Power hasn't been turned on to it yet, unfortunately. And it's going to be open on the 27th of November officially. So it may or may not be turned on until close to then.
Yep.
But yeah, so basically with the new cars, hopefully the rest of this RAC network will be working for Model 3s, which will be a great achievement.
And are they still using the NextCharge app as well, or is it changed over?
The NextCharge app is for the NANUP one.
Yep.
But currently NANUP is actually free delivery, free energy.
Oh,
so they're not charging at all. So you don't need a card or an app or anything. You just go up to it, press start,
Yep.
and it basically works.
Okay.
The other RAC highway is done via ChargeFox.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's 42 or 45 cents a unit, roughly.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like I said, they're not quite ready yet. Hopefully they will be ready soon. But it was basically Tokwa that got the NANUP site working. And we basically did that, because we were acutely aware of all the Model 3 owners that were basically missing out. And, they had thought there was a great fast DC network, but unfortunately it wasn't compatible.
Yep.
But shortly it certainly will be. So that was a good segue to that development. Now, another thing, speaking of charges, and it's also related to John Edwards, is that we're doing a road trip, extended long weekend road trip to Kalbarri. And I sent an email out, I think it was yesterday. Now, basically what it is, we're doing it over 3 nights. So, and it's all optional. So in the try booking setup, let me just bring that up. There are basically 6 slots. Now what it is you can leave on Friday and come back on Saturday. So that's 1 night in Kalbarri. Or you can leave on Friday, come back Sunday for 2 nights, or leave on Friday, come back Monday for 3 nights. And then, the scenarios carry on, Saturday, coming back after a night, or leaving Saturday for 2 nights. And you can also even leave Perth on Sunday and overnight on Sunday night and come back on Monday. Now, the reason why we've got all these selections is because we have to basically account for the logistics of charging multiple cars. Because even with fast DC charging, each car still takes a finite time to charge. And what we don't want to do is have a queue of people standing around waiting, which is sort of fine if you're having lunch and a chat or whatever. But if you want to go any sort of reasonable distance, we've really got to draw up a bit of a roster. So that's why we sort of got these different slots. And the intention is to get people to pick one of those slots. Now, we've had a few questions. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're staying overnight in Geraldton or doing a side trip or whatever. The main reason why we want to know when you were intending on going up and then coming back is so we can still like work out how many cars are doing each trip on each day. So again, we can sort of work out a bit of a roster so people aren't waiting around for cars. We also, in the booking process, request that you put in your type of car. So then we can also estimate charging time and also your address. So we can, again, estimate
By the time we get there.
yeah, by the time you get there, how much you're going to need or whatever. But obviously, and it doesn't matter if you're going to do a one-way trip, you know, you're going to, you know, come up on the Saturday and continue up north further or whatever, that doesn't matter. In that case, you know, you can just sort of pick any sort of return date because, you know, you can always just leave something in the comments about, you know, what you're planning on doing. As far as social events and all that sort of stuff, we're definitely going to organise a dinner on Saturday night because that's most likely to be the time when most people will be in Kalbarri. And, you know, Friday night will be optional. Joe's husband, Seb, is he's got a 40th the day before. I think it's on the Thursday. So he'll certainly be celebrating. So we might be doing something on the Friday night for that. But I mean, it could also be a swim through until Saturday night as well. And even Sunday night for that matter. So yes, that's basically it. So it's one of the extended, it's our longest distance road trip and longest duration. As far as distances go, basically, from Perth to Jurien Bay is 218 k's. Perth to Geraldton is 419, and Perth to Kalbarri is 574. But obviously, we've got fairly convenient charging hops, so you can basically go Perth to Jurien Bay at 218 k's, Jurien Bay to Geraldton at 196, and then Geraldton to Kalbarri at 154. So some of the more adventurous sort of like long range threes could almost do Geraldton in one hit and then do an extended charge in Geraldton to gain an extra, you know, 150 k's to get to Kalbarri.
Harold,
John.
We've just had Ant Day join. His cam just went off.
Ant, how you
Yes,
going?
Ant. Can we just acknowledge Ant Day?
Yes, Ant's the secretary of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association WA branch. Welcome, Ant.
Hi everyone.
And he's
Hi John, everyone. And I also just wanted to say, I was ecstatic at the news, and several other people were as well, that Tokwa, but specifically Harold, managed to solve the issue with the with charging the 3 on the electric highway. It's fantastic news, and yeah, I'm over the moon for the 3 drivers who are getting very frustrated. In particular, the director of the company that I work for drives a 3, and I sent him a message saying, look at this, with a picture of the Phoenix cable that you've got the CP sort of bridge. Yep. That you'd done, and he literally shouted out from the other room, "Woohoo!" And I think that was the tone that was a great relief for a pretty debilitating problem. So well done, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. And Tok was wrapped to have, you know, basically facilitated this. It's something that we always wanted to do, and we sort of put our minds and decided that that's something that we would support. So thankfully it's come through, and yeah, it's all good. But yeah, so with this charging thing, so with the distances.
Harold, just, Harold, sorry to interject,
Yes, John.
but this guy Ant has had a life experience recently. Like he's had a had a benign tumor removal operation, which he's come through. He's one of the magnificent part of our community,
Absolutely.
and he's still here and he's with us. And look, everyone does whatever they can do to what we're doing, but this boy's with us. So look,
Yep.
that's fantastic.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Anne, for joining the call and being
Thanks, John,
with us,
and,
mate.
I don't think I need to say it, but I think I'll reciprocate right back at you. You know how the community appreciates you. I'm very glad to have come out of the operation with my skull virtually intact. There's a large dent just there. I do have to go back to them and get a repair, and it might not be as easy as getting a Tesla dent repaired. But I think I might have to just put up with it. It is a fantastic thing. I've got my balance back. I can ride a bicycle again, and I can join in the festivities, except for the fact that I can't drive till February, and it's literally the 3-month anniversary of when I went in for the op today. So it's great. I've got a new lease on life, and that's wonderful. But Harold, on with the show, and thanks, John.
Well done, Ant.
Cool.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks both John and Ant. Yeah. So the trip distances, they're quite easy. And like I said, we'll probably have a bit of a roster, and also depends, if you're a long range 3 that's in the northern suburbs of Perth, then going straight to Geraldton could be quite viable, or perhaps like a little splash and dash at Jurien Bay. But there'll be plenty of other, SR pluses that'll want to do a reasonable charge at Jurien and then another charge at Geraldton. Now, as far as charging in Geraldton goes, there's plenty of charging actually, and what we've got is I guess you could loosely call it an octopus, which is basically a device that'll split the 3-phase into 3 lots of single phase. So you can then basically charge your cars at a bit over 7 kilowatts. You can do 3 cars at 7 kilowatts simultaneously, and that's at the, I think it's the community centre or something like that, the visitors centre. So basically, there is a 32 amp 3-phase socket out in the car park, and then there's also a Tesla destination charger, which is also 22 kilowatts. So the old S's with dual chargers can go at full rate, and then the more modern S's and X's can go at 17 kilowatts, and even a 3 can charge at 11. But what we can do is put 3 cars on this socket. So there'll be no issue with topping up at Kalbarri. And this place is quite central to the main drag of Kalbarri. So it's actually quite a good spot. It's near a few of the resorts and hotel. So that's it. So that's our biggest, longest duration and distance road trip we're going to undertake so far. And basically what we're going to do is deploy the Tokwa shark fin at Geraldton. So you can also do fast DC charging there as well as John's Jurien Bay facility.
Where are you going to set up at Geraldton, Harold?
That's sort of TBA. We've got 3 locations, one standby location that's guaranteed, and one that we really want to go to that's not. So in the next week and a half, 2 weeks and a half, 2.5 weeks, we'll be trying to get the more desirable location, but time will tell. We'll just have to see how that goes. But we have a standby location that's got plenty of power and still is entirely suitable. So yeah, so there will be fast DC charging using the shark fin. And what I'll basically do is I'll bring it up on the Thursday before we go, make sure it's set up, and then people are free to use it the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. John.
For some people here, maybe newbies, don't know about the shark fin.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Anyone, raise your hand if you don't know what the shark fin is.
Okay.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Peter Ship,
Harold,
you know the shark fin? Come on, put your hand up. Yes, right.
Okay.
So most people don't know what it is, right?
Okay, I guess it is on. There's a photo of it on PlugShare, which is probably the easiest way to show it.
An A380 tail fin on the back of an X.
Yes. that only weighs 165 kilograms. That's it there, basically. So it basically just sits on the back of the tow hitch, and then we can actually deploy it by basically lowering it onto the ground and detaching it from the car. So that's basically the same charger as the one in the background, which is a Tritium 50 kilowatt fast DC charger.
So Harold, explain to the people why you want to do that. That's your invention, right? So the reason is we need to take it out to the communities and show them what we need to do to charge electric cars in remote areas, right?
Yeah, so the idea is because this can be deployed self-contained, what I can basically do is drive anywhere I like, drop it on the ground, plug it into an outlet, adjust the power according to what is available, and then you can demonstrate charging. And that can be left for, between, minutes, hours, or days at a location. And then it can be collected and moved to another place. So one of the things we sort of want to do is, what the club wants to do is basically be able to demonstrate this unit to various shires around the place, as far as Kununurra for that matter. And sometimes it's just a bit more compelling when you can actually see it operating. And then in their minds, all they have to do is come up with the money to buy that kind of charger, because the power is already there, or at least there is some power already there. And then they're a lot more inclined to actually sort of get a bit more excited about the concept, rather than it being a dry document that sort of just explains something in words. I think, like Pete said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And seeing that picture being active and actually working is probably even worth a bit more. So that's what we're sort of doing as a bit of a demonstration sort of exercise. And the good thing is, because it's so portable, we even use this. John quite kindly agreed to allow his charger to be transported, the one that went to Jurien, on the back of that. And that worked really well. It was easy to basically take up there and take off and install at Jurien, which was quite a good proof of concept. And that was even beyond the shark fin. That was taking it actually off the frame and installing it. And that was easily done as a two-man operation.
Harold, is there any newbies here? I see some newbies I've never seen before. Got some questions. Yes. I see MD.
Yes, no, that's Carmen. Hi, Carmen.
Yes.
Is that Carmen?
It is me.
Hello, I'm John.
How are you?
I'm very well. We have spoken on the phone. I was hoping we could meet at some stage, right?
Yes. I'm sure there's another gathering at Floriat or one of those places.
Actually, that's a very good segue, because this Saturday we've got the AGM, our annual general meeting, which
Okay.
is at the Oxford Hotel, and it
Oh, I
starts
know
at
it.
12:30. And we are still looking for more members to attend.
12:30.
12:30. There was an email out about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's 12:30 on Saturday, which for you, Carmen, might not be ideal because I imagine you'd be having house opens and stuff
Home
like
opens.
that. Yes.
If I know about it, I can schedule a break in between. I do have one 11 till 12 and then 3 o'clock. So it's a possibility.
That's perfect. I mean,
I think me and Carmen should have a side meeting.
yes, you should have a reconciliation.
Yeah. We should have an Arthur River, like a review meeting.
Yes, well, I did write about it to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Right. Good.
it's all good. It's all good. We're pioneering, right? So
Yeah.
What happened, guys? Fill the rest of us in. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll sort of paraphrase it. Basically, Carmen had an interesting, as a few of us know, Carmen had an interesting trip on the way down to Albany. She actually made it with 4 kilometres left. And that was when she, at the time, thought it was a good idea to leave Perth and simply use your car to navigate to Albany. But of course, unfortunately, what most of us know is that what the car does is it insists on going via Eton, because that's the only supercharger in its little world. So having taken her to Eton, it then suggested that she goes, you'd almost call it cross country to Kojonup, at which point she didn't have that much energy left in her car. So then she had to fill it up for well over an hour to get sufficient charge to get to Albany. And made it with 4 kilometres left, which is kind of a bit of a record, really, for a first road trip. That's an awesome effort.
Well as going through unsealed roads, following Google Maps through Mujat electrical station. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then on the way back, Carmen had done her research because I'd told her about PlugShare and all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately got to Arthur River and happened to come across the only driveway attendant that wasn't familiar with the charger, unfortunately, and couldn't activate the charger. So she had to go to Williams.
No, she called, skipped a step. She called me.
Yeah, but you were busy, John. So you were.
I was in the.
You were in the middle of.
Normally wouldn't be a problem, right? But I had 10 crises going on at that moment, right? Like it was just the wrong time and the wrong day. Look, we need to reconcile this.
It's all good. Like so John was actually in the middle of the Targa campaign, the rally campaign, and of course that stuff is millisecond, stress. Like you got to do things, in sequence, and you can't. It just couldn't be distracted, unfortunately, at that time. But that's just one of those unlucky things. And then what happened, of course, was Carmen then went on to Williams, because Williams has a proper Tesla destination charger. And just to make it a bit more topical, when we actually click up to Williams, which is actually going to be possibly the first recipient of Western Australia's second supercharger site, when you go to Williams, and this is slightly frustrating, but basically there was an image taken back in June this year showing the cable pulled out at the bottom. And what that does is it causes the charger not to work either properly or at all. And it was reported several times, including by yours truly, that, it wasn't working. And it was kind of pushed back and shoved back and whatever. But unfortunately, it hasn't been replaced and it's still not reliable. So unfortunately then Carmen, having not being able to charge at Arthur River, and it would have been perfectly okay if Williams had worked, but it didn't. So then she basically had to limp into the
Byford.
Hungry Jack's at Byford because that had a destination charger. Because Carmen hadn't yet gotten a Type 2 to Type 2 cable because she rightly so didn't realize that you needed one. And ordinarily you sort of, if you're on the eastern seaboard of Australia or in the US or in Europe, you don't need a Type 2 cable because there's other chargers everywhere. John.
Carmen, are you a business lady?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
luckily, I was very fortunate that Harold answered my 3 calls and was very generous with his time and organization. And I made it.
You made it?
Yep, made it home, safe and sound.
To tell the tale. So as a follow-up, I have written to RAC, Tesla Sydney, and tweeted Elon Musk and asked for someone to do a little bit of research on the electric highway and to choose serious points where people are going to look after it. And I think rather than Williams, I think it would be actually better to have it at the Kojonup because the people there can look after it and are a little bit more interested. But I think the Williams people have decided to wait for the supercharger in January. I don't think they're paying too much attention. And they had a 3-phase point, which I did ask about because I had heard about it. And he was at the rally as well. So his wife was very pleasant, but didn't know anything, and he wasn't there. So I think if you're going to have a charger, you have to leave someone in charge. It's not good enough to not train someone in your absence if that's what you have.
Yeah, indeed. And that therein lies a problem. The charges are so few and far between that you really are relying on each and every one of them working properly. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's
the
problem.
couple I met, Eaton was fantastic. Of course, I was textbook. It was happy. But the people that I met charging at the same time did say that Margaret River and Dunsborough wasn't charging the 3.
Yes.
So that was another issue as well.
Yeah, well, thankfully, hopefully, that will be resolved fairly soon because we've already effectively publicly published a solution that looks quite stable. So, hopefully that will be resolved in the next little bit.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
in my defense, Carmen, right? In my defense, right? You visited my charger at Arthur River and you didn't have a good experience, right? I'm sorry, I apologize for that, right? But that's a private investment. Like I funded that entire thing, right? It's probably $70,000 installation solely because I'm just it's a community service, right?
Right.
And the payback period is 180 years.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, so it wasn't
but
a commercial
hang on a minute,
decision.
It's not that. But the calculation I've done is 180 years payback period. But if I put a coffee machine on the side of it, $5 per coffee, it would reduce it to 90 years, right? Like I can actually make it getting close to commercial.
So John, isn't this just a plot for you to live forever? Because you're determined to live and see the day that charger becomes profitable, And
You,
it means you've got to wait for 180
you,
years.
you've got it. You've,
But that's okay because
Harold,
you-
you've hit the
that's what
nail on the
Univer's
head.
all about.
I'm,
It's the
I'm
font
build-
of youth.
I'm
That's what
building
it is.
stuff that needs to go for more than I live for.
That's thinking.
John,
See? See?
John,
And then you can have a break-even party.
Look, I want to I want to take this opportunity, Carmen. Look,
Yes.
it's very important. When you called me, and you did, I was in a very bad situation. If I could have got someone to talk you through to get that thing going, you would have had a very good charging experience at Arthur River, right? I will
Yes.
guarantee 100%, right? And I made a mistake at that time. I should have put you on to
Yes.
one of my other people to talk you through how to get it done. You didn't know how to turn the key on, right? You didn't
Yes.
know what was going on. That's my fault. I should have done that, and you could have charged there, and you would have been very happy. So,
Yes.
and
Look, it's we'll just put it down to one of those things. Thank you for the apology and accept it, and we'll move on.
right.
All right.
Just to lighten the mood a bit, I'll add some defense to John, because I was one of the reasons why he was having a bad day.
Please explain, Andrew. What did you do to
So
make John
I was towing the tritium charger with one of the generators to charge the race car, and we were sitting at the start of the 2J stage, which is actually sort of 4 stages in one, and we'd done a brilliant job, myself and Nigel Ball, getting the race car charged up and keeping it going. What we failed to do was realize that internal combustion engine batteries aren't Tesla batteries. And so we left the door open and had the back of the four-wheel drive up. So the interior lights were on the whole morning. We'd finished up for the morning just at the end of lunch, just before lunch, went to start the car to move to the next spot, and dead battery. So I called to John to say, we need a jump start. And so John was frantically, at the same time, Carmen, you were calling, was trying to coordinate getting a spare battery out to charge us or jump start us so we could get to the next spot.
Yes, it doesn't sound like good timing.
So, yeah.
I had rung the day before to almost make an appointment to make sure there wasn't a queue. But anyway.
It's the best laid plans of mice and men. That's Murphy's law all wrapped in one, unfortunately.
It's just ironic. We kept the race car battery close to 100% the whole time and couldn't keep the race car.
Carmen, I'm a really, you can ask Harold or whatever. I'm a non-profit. I'm just doing this because I love the community, right? So, and I'm building stuff now that is running on waste veg oil. Like I'm doing stuff to do stuff. Like,
yes,
come down to my factory, come and have a look. I'm not, Harold, can you facilitate that?
Of course. Yeah. It's a great setup.
I want to amend make an amend for.
It was a one-off, and the thing is, it was just a one-off unfortunate thing, and it's like a plane crash. There's a whole series of Swiss cheese holes that have to line up to sort of turn into half a disaster, which could have been averted at so many other sort of points. One thing we are going to do is, and it's funny because Carmen, don't feel that you didn't read the instructions correctly, because even though they are written well, all of us have already used that charger, so you don't even have to read the instructions, and we just sort of blindly just go and do it. But Ken Taylor, who is one of our committee members, he did exactly what you did, Carmen. And when he looked for the switch in the back of the charger, he went right to the back of the generator, and then he saw like these doors that said "don't open" and whatever. He thought, "Oh no, that's not right." And then he sort of looked a bit more, but it actually took several goes to find behind the
Man,
back of the tritium.
Can I just
And
interject?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I on my first trip up to Jurien Bay, and when it had just been installed, I borrowed a Model S before I got a decent long range car. I don't have a Tesla, by the way. Wish I had. Borrowed a Model S, drove up there, got to the charger. Did I read the manual? No. I just called John, and I felt rather stupid when I realized where the switch was. So I think a number of us have been there. I think I should have given myself an uppercut when I discovered that. But I had a good chat to John all the same, because it's always good to chat to John.
Yes, especially when there's not a rally on. That's
Yes.
the main thing.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to actually record a video, and we're going to post a link to it on PlugShare, so that other new owners, and the great thing is there are new owners picking up cars basically every day.
Yes.
That's how popular
I've
these
been
cars.
to see Harry.
Yes, he's flat out.
I have to have a tail light replaced because it was holding moisture, and they've ordered the parts, so I haven't had it done yet.
Yep.
But I'm due to go next week.
I was in the service centre earlier this morning, and I was sitting there for about an hour, and in that hour they sold 3 Model 3s.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I asked, there's a few people that want a test drive, and he hasn't contacted them. So I figure that they're not marketing.
He was absolutely flat out. You could
Flat
just
out,
see
yeah.
it. Yeah, he was. All the guys there, they were all, running around. Yeah, it was quite incredible to see. Can I just make a point though? How fantastic is it? How should I phrase this? I mean, the service that you get from someone that's spent $70,000 of their own money to put something there for the community, and you can just see in John's voice how much he regrets, not being able to take that phone call. I mean, you wouldn't, compare that to a multinational corporation where you get put on hold for 60 minutes or 30 minutes, and you get transferred from one call center to another and what have you. So
And the best thing I've ever heard John quoted as saying was he's doing this because he doesn't want to, because as an owner of an EV, he doesn't want to feel like a second-class citizen.
Yeah.
And have to scrounge for a charge on a 10 amp outlet or a caravan socket or something like that.
And when you do get him, English is his first language.
Yes,
not like the call centers.
I think I've heard John use a few 4-letter words.
Other languages
might or might not be English. I just wanted to relate another little story that links into this somehow. But I got one of the ChargeFox RFID cards posted out to me for occasions when there's no mobile coverage, so you can use the fast charger, for example, in Lake Grace, and because I don't have Telstra. And when I went down to Gwelup to go and try it out, I tried to charge and it just went beep, 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 beep. And what had happened is that it wasn't linked up with the app properly or something like that. And I phoned ChargeFox, and I got a lady on the other side, and I think they were based on the East Coast. And they said, and I said, I've got this RFID card. And she said, what's an RFID card? I'm not kidding. And I was a bit disappointed with ChargeFox, although that's not universal, but that was an eye opener that clearly their training had left out something. So John having a bad day was when he's a one-man show for supporting his various charges.
We all have one of those.
Yes, we do.
The RFI, the not having Telstra or the right carrier is a good point. I was speaking to another member yesterday, and he had an experience in Lake Grace where he had Vodafone or Optus and couldn't activate the charger.
Oh.
So, but he'd
Not
worked
sure
out-
if you're talking about Joseph, but he had that experience too.
Oh, right. No, this wasn't Joseph. This was another member, Tim. And in fact, Ash, you know Tim very well. Tim basically said that he went to I think it was the visitor center, and they've got free Wi-Fi. So he basically, I don't know whether it was he or his wife. I think Tim did it. He was at the visitor center on the Wi-Fi, activating the charger on the app, and then waving to his wife down the road to plug the car in to get it activated. So that's another ingenious way of doing it. But Ant's point is a good one, where you can just ring up. You can actually log into ChargeFox and order an RFID card for free. They'll actually post it out for free.
Yeah, you get it on the internet. I did it because I'm with Vodafone, and I'm thinking there's several places where reception is pretty rubbish.
Yep.
So,
and as a club, what we're going to do
I've got
is
one.
And as a club, what we're going to do is print out RFID tags as name badges, which will be good for casual meetups and stuff like that. And then you'll be able to ring up ChargeFox and get that card validated on your account, so you can use that in lieu of one of the other cards.
That's a brilliant idea, Harold. Brilliant.
Can I just say that ChargeFox, I was just told, because Jim Wilkinson emailed me after I commented about this issue that I just mentioned, and he says, and I'd like to check on this, I haven't done it yet, that you can now take any RFID card and validate it through the app. Which means you don't have to call in. I'm not sure yet. I've got to do it myself, but I'll report back.
That's a great, that'll be actually really good news if that's the case, Ant, because it means we don't have to put temporary labels on all the MyFair cards to identify them. So I presume that means you just use your RFID in your phone to pick up. It'll read your card via the app on your phone.
Yeah, if it's got NFC,
yes.
an NFC reader, yeah.
Yeah, cool. John.
One of the problems, I'm a remote area kind of guy, right? So I don't care about the city because that's all sorted, right? So Carmen had a problem at Arth River, right?
Yep. She
plugged the car in, she couldn't get the plug out.
Yep.
She's fiddling around with the phone, everything else. Arth River, there's no
card, yeah.
Well, there's no phone connection there.
Yes.
Are you on, right. Carmen? Are you on Optus or Telstra or what? Right.
I'm on Telstra.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Telstra there, yeah.
Telstra's not bad, but she couldn't unlock her charge plug. So, look, my driver is, we've got to sort out the remote areas, right? So Arth River's not bad, but no, she called me up. She said, I can't get the plug out of my car.
Yeah, no. So the thing is, with the remote areas, there's a couple of issues. One thing that still frustrates us is the lack of just using your ordinary PayWave, because everyone has got a PayWave device, i.e. a credit card or a debit card.
Yes.
And unfortunately, and it's funny because you see on Tritium, they actually do have an Ingenico, which is one of the big brands that do all the FPOS terminals for shops and stuff. That's one of the most common terminal machines. Tritium actually have them mounted, well, as an option, mounted on their chargers, but currently it's only for the US market. It's not. They allege that it's not compatible with the Australian market at the moment, even though that's really just a matter of a few keystrokes and a bit of minor programming to make it so. But that's one of the frustrations, is all these different network providers, you got to have a different app, a different RFID card.
So frustrating.
Setup. you know, whereas the ideal would be simply to present your payload device, whether it's, you know, these days, whether it's a smartwatch or a phone or a credit card or a debit card or anything.
Works, yeah.
And it should just work, you know, and it's not hard. Because then people can just go up there randomly without any preparation. And I mean, I relayed this story a few weeks ago where I was in the Netherlands and there was a network operator called Smooth. It was SMOOV. And the thing is, you had to download their app. And I did so on the App Store. And it said, this app is not available in your region because obviously my phone is from Australia. So I couldn't even download the app to activate it. So then I just parked somewhere else. So yeah, but remote areas, one good thing is, which is sort of related obliquely to Tesla via Elon Musk, is the Starlink setup, because that will make, at least for the charging stations, it'll mean that they'll have internet everywhere. And I guess it also means probably if you've got Starlink at the charging station, they'll at least have free Wi-Fi. So then you can always tether off that Wi-Fi for your phone if you still need an app. But then hopefully by then they'll actually just have FPOS terminals powered by Starlink or via Starlink. And you can just use your credit cards, which would make it super simple.
Harold, just to confirm what Ant was saying, I had a quick look at my ChargeFox app, and yeah, he's absolutely right. So all you do is you just click on the 3 lines on the left, which open up the menu, and then you go into My Profile, and then it's the 3rd green button, which just says RFID cards, and then you can press Add Card, and then you just type the number in, press Submit, and you're done.
Oh, so you need the number. Okay, cool. So in which case,
so it doesn't scan it. You just manually type the number.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what we'll do with the membership cards is we will print a temporary label, because we don't necessarily want to show the number because you don't want someone else to see it per se. But we'll just do it temporarily so that then you can enroll your cards into the ChargeFox app, and that's awesome. And that, because, you know, there's even places, there's a charger at Woolworths at Mount Pleasant that's in a basement underneath the actual shopping centre, or the actual shops. And sometimes mobile network is a little bit dodgy, even Telstra, and it's been a little bit flaky and just a pain. And there's just nothing more convenient than just whipping out effectively an RFID card, badging it onto the reader, particularly those Schneider where you've got the 2 type 2s, you've got one either side. On the app, you have to specify which is the A port and which is the B.
The EV Links, I think is that what they call
Links? Yes, the Schneider EV Link. Yep. And they, in fact, at Mount Pleasant, they've actually got 2 of them. I'll just bring it up on the screen just for interest. They've actually got type 2. Once that refreshes.
A quick question while that's loading, Harold. So
yes,
those RFID cards, I presume you'd also be able to register it on the Rev for the UWA.
Yes. Yep. So we'll be getting MyFair cards, which are the compatible cards. So let's see if there's a better photo. Well, basically, you've actually got a port on the right side and the left, but they're not always marked as to which is A and B. And via the app, you have to actually specify which one you want to unlock.
Well, there's actually, which one is it? It's a McDonald's, I think. So where I went a few months ago, I can't remember which one it was, but they had 3 of them, 3 EV Links. So you had 6 ports, if you like.
Yes.
And you would think that, you'd go from left to right, so, the one on the far left will be number 1, the one in the middle will be 2, but they were all jumbled up. And, it wasn't A and B, but it was B and A, and
yep.
and they weren't marked. labelled. They weren't labelled. So it was just the trial and error. But what you do is on the app, you turn it on, and then you watch for the green ring to come up, or you listen for the click, and that's and then you look for the lights. So that's how you can work out which one's which.
But why do you need another card if you've already put a credit card on your account?
This is just to activate it, Carmen. So the credit card, well, the credit card actually is a MyFair card as well, but well, you possibly could add your credit card as the token.
Well, when I loaded ChargeFox, it needs your credit card to be
That's
stored.
to bill you, yes, but then you can actually, if you've got, say, well, soon enough you'll have a Tokwa membership card,
Yes.
which will have a number, and then you can then just register that on the app and just use that to wave up at the reader. So the reader
Okay.
is actually, I'll try and get a good image of it.
You'll still need to have a credit card registered so that they know how to bill you.
Yes, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so this little symbol here, this is where the actual reader is, just behind this
Okay.
metalwork. Well, that's actually not metal there. And when you badge onto that, the good thing about the badging with a card is that it doesn't matter which side you open. So you can basically open either flap because there's one on the left and one on the right, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to specify which way. There's no way of specifying. You just open one of them, plug in, and it'll start working. Whereas on the app, they make you actually specify whether it's, and I was going to say whether it's a left or right hand side, but it doesn't even go into that sort of term. It's either A or B or 1 or 2. And in fact, each of those 3 charges are their own station. So you've got to sort of like specify whether it's this, station 1 and
Yes.
plug A, or plug B, or station 2, and so on. So anyway, so that's really good. Thanks for that, Ant. That's a good scoop. I didn't even know that was possible.
Just thinking about it, my phone can act as a RFID, obviously, PayWave, that kind of stuff. Could you use that feature and register your phone as the thing to tap on the thing?
As an RFID card.
Providing the reader is NFC compatible as well as MyFair, or whether your phone can also clone MyFair, because some readers are multi-technology that it can do MyFair and NFC, because NFC is not MyFair. It's a different thing.
Yeah. Because it works for the car. Like I can use my phone to open the card, but by tapping it on the B pillar. In the Model 3, anyway.
Yeah. Yes, but that's because the Model 3 has an NFC reader.
Right. Okay.
Built in. In fact, we're not even sure what the actual card is, because a card could be an NFC card as well, as opposed to MyFair.
The card
There's all these different technologies, unfortunately, that even though you can get a card that's really just, well, say like say this. In fact, this is PayWave. There, you can see the symbol. So that's obviously, I think in this case it's MyFair, but you can also have NFC, which is what phones do.
Right.
But NFC and the cards are not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
Even though you can get a card that does NFC, probably, which is what the Tesla cards do for your Model 3s, but they're probably not MyFair.
Right.
So if you badged, for instance, if you badged a Tesla card up to a Tritium, it may or may not do anything. It might not beep or recognize it as anything.
I know the you can't use the Tesla card for the UWA.
Right. So have you actually gone to the office and asked them to read it?
It doesn't recognize it.
Right. Yes. Because so clearly that means that card you've got for the car is an NFC card, whereas what they need is a MyFair card.
So Andrew, what phone have you got? Have you got an iPhone?
I've got a Pixel 3 XL.
Oh, Pixel, Google. Okay.
Yeah, the Google phones are a lot more flexible that way. You can actually get them where they will clone a card, so you just read a card, and then it will just make itself look like that card.
Yeah.
At least at the first slot 0 or whatever it's called, the first the ATR, the answer to reset 8 bytes that they send out. you can always clone that. It obviously can't clone the other stuff because that's all password protected and encrypted and whatever. But
I think John mentioned before something about unlocking the charge cable, and I think Carmen, you had an issue with that.
no, the main issue was starting the actual. Oh, sorry, Carmen, you can say because you were there.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, Carmen couldn't start the generator because on the instructions it
I
says
couldn't find the slot for the key because it said behind knee high, and there wasn't such a thing. But I went to the back of the whole charger.
Yeah.
Not
Tritium. Yeah.
There appears to be a behind immediately the front panel.
No. I think John was mentioning you couldn't get the cable out of your car.
No, I couldn't because I put it in before.
Yeah.
The sign said.
So on that, I think eventually you figured it out through the screen. But there is actually a release cable. Like if you get complete, I'm not sure if the S's and X's have it as well.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, in the 3, there's a release cable in the trunk. It's in the manual. I'm looking at the manual on the screen in my car at the moment, and there is a
Andrew.
There's a release thing on the app and on the screen.
Hang on, John. Yeah, well, hang on. We're just doing this release cable thing. Yeah, go on, Nigel.
No, you can release the cable from the app.
Yeah.
And from the screen.
Yeah, no, that's
Stop
true.
charging.
If that doesn't work, is what I'm saying.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is a manual release. But that's the last measure. Don't do it unless it's something else is not working.
Guys, there's no phone signal, right?
Yeah.
So Carmen was trying to release the
With the app, yes.
Plug with a phone, right?
Yes.
But there's no phone signal at Arthur River, So, look, I'm in the business of, remote area EV charging. So this is a very good learning. We're storing this in our data bank as a very good learning. And I spoke to you direct, Carmen.
Yes.
Calmly, I said, go into your car, find the charging screen on your car, and press the unlock button.
Yes. And that's how it happened. Yes.
Which you did, which was brilliant and fantastic. You got the plug out of your car.
Yes.
Look, we are pioneers, people. All of you people on this call, we are pioneers. We are learning about how to charge electric cars in remote areas. And this is
I think the government should compensate you and set it up correctly.
maybe.
Set up a proper Tesla charger.
Well,
They're encouraging people to take EVs up, and they're offering some tax relief and some depreciation and encouraging. So they should come to the party.
Sorry, Carmen, I'll interject. The WA government hasn't spent a cent to encourage EVs. We don't even have a policy. We don't even have, the best we could get was from the science minister at the Gemtech iDrive Day at the RAC Driving Centre, was a plan to have a plan to have a, what's that?
Dave Kelly.
Dave Kelly, yeah, to have a EV policy, but he seems to be the only one that seems to be doing anything about it.
Well,
yeah, so we don't even have a policy.
I had a long chat with my local member on Saturday, and I gave him a heap of information and web links to go to, and he seemed to be quite on board. And I've tweeted him a few things, and he's replied. He's following me, so he seems to be on board. It's only one, but it's a start. But he has been in a Tesla a couple of times, and he quite likes them.
I'm still hopeful that there's, they're holding off until closer to the election in March next year to announce something to try.
What does that say, Coleman?
I very much doubt that it will happen, but yeah, hold note.
What have you got there, Carmen?
Well, that's a an advert from RAC about the electric highway.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. as
So
well.
I contacted the Minister for Transport, and she did write back and forward
Oh,
it to someone
Rita
else.
Sapiotti.
Yeah, well, she's a bit useless, but anyway, it was forwarded to someone else because I've been in touch with her about development, so that's another issue. But she did forward my email to someone else, and also I'm waiting for someone from RAC because they're advertising an electric highway. So I have asked for an explanation. But with the government this year, if you get your car before December, they will allow you full depreciation up to 56,000 if it's an EV, and I think it's only 40 if it's a normal car. So
Yeah,
they are encouraging it.
But that's a federal. That's not a WA state.
No.
So yeah, I was talking about the WA state government.
Okay.
So that's a federal. Yeah.
Yes, well, no one cares about WA by the looks of it, because I've tried to find out. And I also sent my email to Charge Plug, and they replied.
Charge box?
I
Charge
tried
point?
to send it to you, Harold, but for some reason or other, the email address at TOC, I don't think you got it.
No, with your description of what happened.
No, the follow-up replies from people I've written to.
No, I haven't.
I'll send it again.
Yeah, send it to, it's just secretary@tokwa.org.au.
Yes.
Yep.
I sent it there, but I have had some issues with, I've been spammed on the computer and I've had to do some further works on it. So I will forward them to you, but I'm expecting and I'm following up and I want a reply.
Absolutely.
Because there is some advertising about it, I've seen.
Yeah, well, like I say, hopefully with the breakthrough that Tokwa made the last few days, hopefully there'll be a good outcome for the electric highway, so it can basically resume what it used to be, and that was a fairly good, electric highway.
Yes.
Because the world leader at one stage.
Absolutely, and I think that's where it became a victim of its
success.
First mover, because it came about when there were virtually no EVs, or well, should I say that the EVs that were around had no range. They had ranges of approximately 100 kilometers, which is why when you actually look on PlugShare, they're so closely spaced. So when you just look at, say, CCS, the electric highway is highly concentrated. This is the main part of the highway, including Mandurah, but it's highly concentrated in this little corner. And basically Albany was just entirely left out because, the distance between Busselton and Dunsborough is, I don't know, is it 30 kilometers, something like that? It's not very far. And even Margaret River and Augusta, any Tesla these days can basically drive from Perth to probably Augusta on one charge. But at the time it was world leading. But in a sense, it sort of...
Can I just interject?
Yeah, go on, Ed. Yes.
I'm not sure if many people know the history of the origins of the electric highway. One of the people who kind of planted the seed was a lady called Patty. What's Patty's surname? McBain. Patty McBain, who went for a little drive in her Ford EV conversion from UWA, the REV project, and it occurred to her that it would be a great idea to have a series of fast chargers, and a couple of people got together and chatted to the RAC, and they chatted to a couple of other people, and that's where it began. But I've driven down to Augusta and visited literally every single electric highway on station on the way down, because I have a Leaf, and I've since got a much better ranged car, but at the time that was pretty much all you could have, and it was very, very handy to have those stations at that spacing. Nowadays, you've got the longer range cars, and most of the Teslas would make it pretty much 3/4 of the way without too much trouble. But there's this. It is a product of its time. It's now what, 6 years old, and showing its age. But now that you've given it a refresh, Harold, it'll come into its own again, and I hope to see lots of people with Model 3s going down the highway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
This is one of those things that you Tesla drivers would not know, but when you go to get your Hyundai Kona service done, they very helpfully give you one of these. Does anybody have a use for one of these?
That is rather ironic, just quietly.
Yes. And they insisted on giving it to me. They said, "Oh no, you must have it." Yeah.
So is there any reason why the service stations don't have electrical chargers?
Coming. It's coming.
Okay.
Some in
let's put it
Norway
this
don't
way.
have petrol anymore.
Yeah. In the UK, I think all the Shell, or is it the BP? No, Shell, I think it is, have charging stations at the service station, pretty much throughout the UK, and other countries have similar. But I think they, it's against their business model. Selling petrol is what they do, and they don't really like the idea of electric cars. But they'll get there.
Yeah, but they hardly make any money on petrol. They make it on you buying Mars bars and Cadbury's
I
and
totally agree.
Coca-Colas and so on.
Yeah.
My father owned a petrol station, and I remember, helping him stock up on the various things that he had to sell back in the day, and he told me, this is how much I make on petrol, and it wasn't very much at all.
And the thing is, EV drivers are more likely to stay at the petrol station longer, and hence more likely to buy all those profit-making things. And this is what a lot of the petrol station owners don't get. They just feel too threatened by the whole concept, unfortunately.
So here's a thought then. So once there are enough EV drivers to actually make a good bit of custom, a lot of petrol station owners might just go, do you know what? These guys and girls are staying a lot longer. I'm making a lot more money out of them. Bye-bye goes the fossil fuels. So once we reach that inflection point, I'd never really thought about it like this before, but
yes.
We should all go and park in the petrol fill-ups bays and then walk off.
Do a reverse icing.
Yes.
I've done that, Nigel. I've done that before, just for fun. In Needville, I remember parking at the petrol station and parking at the Bowser just for the hell of it.
Well, I actually did shopping at the Trade Center in Kojonup, and I also did shopping and coffee at Williams. So it does work because I had time to kill.
Indeed, because you find even like we were charging at the McDonald's in Armidale, and just to kill time, we just went across to the Harvey Norman across the road.
Yep.
And had a bit of a look around.
Yes.
So it's sort of opportunistic sort of things that you might do, and that's a great thing in towns as well, because petrol stations set themselves up now on the outskirts of town, usually on the bypass road or whatever. But if you've got a charger in town, people they've got half an hour to kill, and they'll go and walk around and buy an ice cream, have a coffee, whatever.
Yes.
Can I just add there that that was actually one of the primary decision points for the electric highway as well, that it was off the beaten track. So, for example, Harvey is not on the main drag down to Margaret River. It's off on the Southwestern Highway. So, is it the Southwestern Highway? I can be excused
like
for that.
Yeah.
So that was a decision point. Put them in places that are off the beaten track, attract visitors. When there are more EVs, they will come. They'll go there. And To me, in a way, it would be a little bit sad if we had ultra chargers, you know, on all the main routes and at petrol stations. While I think that they'll have to do that to survive, I would prefer to roll into a country town and look at the secondhand shop in Harvey and get some coffee and cake and eat and have it, you know, and be able to finish it before my charger is finished.
It's funny because in WA we are so deprived that we think of the 50 kilowatt fast DC charger as the pinnacle of charging. But of course, in the rest of the developed world, it's actually the slowest form. I mean, you know, you go to an IKEA anywhere else in the world and it's full of 50 kilowatt chargers. But I guess maybe, Ant, even though there might be ultra fast chargers elsewhere, you'd still go to those small towns and just charge slowly at 50 kilowatts, because for half hour you spend, you'll get 100 kilometers of range, which will be plenty for doing side trips and all that sort of stuff. Speaking of which, you know, there's great kudos to Eva for doing the Chuffed campaign to get the fast DC charger at Lake Grace, and also one has already been paid for but will soon be installed at Ravensthorpe. But it's funny because I actually drove on to Esperance, and one thing that I'd mentioned earlier, a couple of weeks ago, was that I'd always thought, well, you don't really need a fast DC charger in a town because the town is sort of the destination, and all you do is just slow charge or AC charge overnight. But it's actually critical that these towns actually have the fast DC chargers as well, because what I found that I did was got up in the morning and we thought we'd do like a bit of a round trip around Esperance and Pink Lake and all that sort of stuff. But of course, it's 188 kilometers back to Ravensthorpe. So I had to sort of think, well, how much of this charge am I going to use before I have to sort of charge up again, you know, on the AC, which is sort of a bit tedious. So the next campaign that we should do is try and encourage Horizon Power to install a fast DC charger at Esperance, because that'll facilitate.
I thought that they actually that was in the pipeline for their depot in Esperance, but I'll have to have a look at that.
I dare say, I think that was their initial sort of aspiration, but I think they're fairly comfortable with the 22 kilowatt charger they've got there at the moment, mainly for their own purposes. I think, have they got a Kona there, Ant, or is it a?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So obviously,
was that the one that they wanted to truck up to? I forget where, but they've. No? Yeah, Broome. That was it.
Yeah. Yes. So obviously, for their own purposes, it's as a depot car, it's perfectly fine. But for tourists, you really want to be able to get to your destination, quickly charge, even for 15 minutes, you'll add 50 kilometers, and be able to do side trips.
Yeah.
You know, so we did a side trip to Stonehenge, Esperance, Stonehenge, which is, you know, pretty close. But, you know, for every side trip you do, when you're charging on AC, it takes like an extra, you know, if it takes you an hour to drive somewhere and back, it'll take you even longer to charge or replenish that charge. So yeah, it's really critical to get the fast DC chargers, albeit even say the 50 kilowatt ones, at these towns.
Yeah.
You know, Kataning's a classic. Kataning's a great spot. It's a bit like you're saying, Ant, it's off the beaten track. So it's not on the Albany Highway. It's sort of off. But if you're visiting Katanning, it's a great place to sort of, you know, stop by. And there's a, you know, I think there's a dome right there next to the visitor centre, and a hotel there for that matter. And, you know, if you can charge for half an hour while you're having coffee or lunch, and you've got an extra 100, you know, 100 Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ultra fast would be nice if you're on a long road trip and you just want to literally get from A to B. I mean, that's, you know, that's what you want to do.
I very much doubt whether there will ever be ultra charging
in regional towns, even if everyone's all on solar and batteries, because it just won't be. There's no real sort of financial incentive, but you wouldn't really ever size a system to power a small town and you know, put in 10 350 kilowatt chargers. There'd be no need. So I would imagine that smaller towns would never really get to that anyway.
Yeah.
And further from that, the way that I can see it going in the future is that you'll have a service station where, you know, you'll be able to most, but it will be a 500 kilowatt charger. Then you'll get 350, then you'll get 150, then you'll get 50, and probably, I don't know, 20 kilowatts will be free. 22 kilowatt AC will be free, and then but you'll be there for ages. So that's kind of how I can see it going.
And also, there's the little matter of supply. So some of these regional towns that they haven't got enough power, so then you've got to, you know, try and persuade Horizon or Western Power, whoever, to put enough power in there, another transformer, and that multiplies the cost of installing a fast charger. So yeah, even a 50 kilowatt charger can be a bridge too far for some of these smaller places, and 25 is absolutely fine.
And
A
the
little
other
bit inconvenient, but yeah.
the other fly in the ointment too is, I believe, is that the energy regulator is considering changing the capacity usage charge for EV charging stations. Because even though most of the charging stations are only charging sporadically, they're intending on treating them as if they're going to continually supply that amount of power and have that load on the grid. And therefore the capacity usage charge goes up tremendously, which apparently is going to dramatically affect the economics of a lot of these fast DC chargers. Nice pussy, Richard.
Can I change the subject?
No. Well, have you got any thoughts on that with the capacity usage charge?
Oh, I hadn't heard of it before, but that sounds absolutely.
It's a bloody disaster if that happens.
Yes.
I mean that's what happened to Jurian, wasn't it? The Caltex.
Yes, exactly. I was about to say.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. So
the other part of the equation is no car can do 350 kilowatts at the moment anyway. And yeah, there may be cars that are coming out in the future, but like the Model 3 long range and performance can do 250, but there's no,
probably be Cybertruck.
Yeah, there's maybe the Cybertruck, but
what wasn't the Lucid Air when they're claiming 350 kilowatt charging with that, or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, so they're not mass cars. Like the Lucid's not going to be, a mass-produced car, is it? And that's really where it should be targeted.
The Taycan same as well, I guess.
Yeah, Taycan can, because it's got an 800-volt battery. Yeah. But one of its disadvantages is it has to actually carry along with it a DC to DC converter, so it can charge on the 400-volt chargers.
Yeah.
So it has to lug around its own sort of converter just to be backwards compatible with the lower voltage chargers, which is where I think Pete and I were discussing amongst ourselves a while ago that, I mean, I've got a little pet theory that hovered around the fact that at the Shanghai Gigafactory, there seemed to be an oversupply of those 1 megawatt units to supply the new supercharger station. And I had a little pet theory that maybe some of the newer cars, possibly the Cybertruck or maybe some other cars with the new battery packs, might have a dual voltage setup where they can switch the internals of the pack to either be charged on 400 volts, which would be compatible with all the existing technology, but also then switch mode to an 800 volt configuration and then be rapidly charged at lower currents on the ultra high rate charges.
Yeah, you're probably not far off there, Harold. I just read there that the Lucid is supposed to have a 900 volt charging voltage and can do supposedly 300 miles an hour. So wow, of charging.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I was just sort of thinking that, you know, it would make sense if you could reconfigure, and it's only just a matter of having a H bridge of a couple of contactors to actually do it. Because then you don't need to carry around a DC to DC converter, which is, like I said, what the Taycan has, what it currently does. So it can draw, I forget how many, whether it's 50 kilowatts or 100 kilowatts on these so-called, you know, on the lower voltage chargers. I think, as Andrew was saying, you know, the RAC ultra rapid chargers in Treendale, I think the best a Model 3 could possibly get is probably about 200 kilowatts maximum on the long range.
Especially because you leave Perth with 100 and you get there with 60. You're not going to get a high rate at that high battery charge.
No,
anyway.
no. But the thing is, CCS2, standard CCS2 taps out at 500 amps. Whereas the Tesla version 3 superchargers, they just jam in 625 or 650 amps because they're a bit more relaxed about standards, or well, they just configure it to be so. But cool. Sorry, you were saying, Peter, you were going to change this.
I was just getting back onto Kalbarri. What's the preferred accommodation up there?
Sorry, what's the
preferred accommodation?
Oh, anything you like. So one thing I did do, and I did put it in the email, is if you look at What If, Booking.com, and the Kalbarri Motor Hotel, or whatever it's, their particular website, there is a plethora of accommodation. So initially I had some sort of thoughts of, you know, we might try and bulk book, you know, a venue, but that all becomes a bit fraught, and, you know, people are bringing up families or not, or, you know, it's a lot easier just to let people decide. You know, some people might want to be at a caravan park or camp in their car or go, you know, glamorous or whatever. So accommodation is just Rafferty's rules, whatever you can find, and there's plenty of choice.
Are there any with destination charges?
No. In fact, there's zero at. But what there is,
so I would encourage anybody who stays anywhere up there. I can't go, obviously, because I can't drive at the moment. But to talk to the people you stay with and say, you know, I would have liked to have had a destination charger here, and it doesn't cost anything for you to get one. It does cost to install, but it doesn't cost anything to get one.
That's dead right. What there is in Kalbarri is basically you've got an EVA 32 amp 3-phase socket, and there's also, oops, sorry, I've got to go back to the first image, and there's also a 22 kilowatt destination charger. But that's really good, because what the club has made up is a basically a 3-phase plug to three 3-phase sockets, only feeding 1 phase each, so that then you can basically charge 3 EVs simultaneously at 7.2 kilowatts. So the beauty of that is that that's getting about 50 kilometers of range per hour, and you only need, you know, a couple of 100 Ks to get back to Geraldton, not even. So over 1 or 2 days or 3 days, there's plenty of energy out of those 2 sockets, basically, to replenish, you know, more than a dozen cars. But you're right, Ant, it's definitely, and I think, Pete, you've said it many times too, particularly with shopping centres and other places, where it's great to approach the management and say, hey, it'd be awesome if you had EV charging, because if you did, I'd be here more often. And I mean, I'm a great case in point. I live, probably 400 metres from the Waterford shopping centre, but I drive 5 kilometres to the Riverton Forum, because at Riverton Forum they've got 2 destination chargers, and I just feel like I want to support a shopping centre that does that. I think that happens to be Stockland, who have a EV policy, so they actively do install chargers. I also believe Woolworths have now got a bit of a policy where they're more inclined to actually, as the Woolworths group, install chargers. So that's why there's a couple of chargers at the Woolies in Mount Pleasant. But yeah, it's definitely very useful to, if there is a destination charger, remind the proprietors that you're there. Basically, you've booked this hotel because, well, and that's the irony, isn't it? You often will pay an extra $50 or even more dollars per night to get so-called free electricity for your car.
Yeah. One of those charging points at Riverton wasn't working the other day. It's the one with the long cable. There's a 7 meter and a 3 meter cable. The one with the long cable didn't work.
Nigel, you need to read my very sage, and I don't post much on PlugShare. I usually only post if it's like new information. And all you need to do, and yeah, don't get caught if you charge on the south charger, just press the reset button. So plug in, and what you'll find is you won't hear that click of the charger, working. So you just wrap your hand around the side and just press the reset button, and it'll just reset and it'll work for the time being.
It didn't. I did actually do a reset on
Oh,
that
really?
one. That's the
right.
one with the 7 meter cable.
Yes.
The other one with the 3 meter cable worked fine.
Right.
What sort of charges are those, guys?
Destination, HPWCs.
What Rob and I tried at Alkimos before those two charges disappeared was, so I went there and I tried to charge 3 or 4 times, couldn't get it to work. Tried pressing the reset button, didn't work. But then what we tried was pressing the reset button while trying to have it charging.
Yes.
So while he was plugged in, while he was trying to charge, I then pressed the reset button and that did the trick. So
Yes.
not sure if that's something that you're supposed to do or not, but it definitely worked.
You can,
So,
yes, yeah, absolutely, yes. Because what you'll see is when you plug in and you try to charge, you'll get the red light in the center. And it's got something to do with some ground fault, some error that it thinks it's picking up. And you just hit reset and it'll then work. Yeah, so what I did.
So I think you got to hold it down for about 10 seconds or so, don't you? The reset button?
Only for a few seconds, maybe.
A few seconds, okay.
Yeah, just maybe.
See everyone. I'm going to go and reset my body clock and go to sleep. See you guys later.
Great to see you.
See you, Andy.
Yeah.
See ya. Have a good snooze.
Yeah, so what I did, Nigel, was I posted that, the South HPWC required a reset before functioning properly. And I do that every now and then. I sort of a bit sparing on the comments. There was a time when there was no power. And actually, having said that, I think, someone has said yesterday that there was both sides not working. So that was probably just a contactor. Circuit breaker's probably popped and has needed a reset. Although I actually charged there today, so I know it worked today. But there you go. But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't always post on. There are people that I encourage everyone to post on PlugShare for every single session they do. And that's cool if you want to do that. But other people are more relaxed about it and mainly post if there's something new. So if a charger wasn't working and it now is, it's always a good idea to, update that information.
Yep. To that point, I'd agree. A few times I've met someone at a charger. I usually ask them if they actually use PlugShare or not. Well, a couple of times I've met someone at a charger and I thought it was available because I just check on PlugShare and assume it's available.
Yeah.
But then you meet people who most likely aren't using PlugShare because they haven't checked in there.
Yes. Yeah.
We were down in Bustleton a couple of months ago and using the Tesla destination chargers in the car park there. And there was another Andrew H who had a Model 3 who kept checking in at different times to me. I'm like, we never crossed paths.
See, so there's so many Model 3s out there that even all the Andrew H's have bought them. Like,
I'm obsessed. I always obsessively check in on PlugShare. Even we were at Scarborough earlier, and yeah, even though we were there for not very long, I was like, nope, always got to do it, and then check out again. And hi, Seb.
and that's totally cool. It's totally cool if you do that, but I also argue it's totally cool if you don't. Like there's no sign on the charger that says it's mandatory to check in or whatever. And
yeah, but it's a bit of a respect thing. I mean, you know, if you come up, you got to know how long they're going to be there for. At my charger, Baldivis, and Rob's not here. He's stuck a bloody picture on that saying owned by Rob.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I went up there and there was another Model 3 dark coloured one parked there, and so I used the Type 1 plug, which is fine. I went off and I did a few things. I came back 2 hours later and he was still there, not registered on PlugShare. I went off, I came back, he was still there, and he was there for about 3.5 hours that I know of. I don't know how long he'd been there before and how long he was. Yeah.
Was he charging? Was he
yes.
still charging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nigel, there's a there's one car that I've noticed a couple of times that charges for literally 6 or 7 hours a day, pretty much every single day. And what the driver does is he parks the car there because it's near a train station, and then he catches the train, goes to work, does a whole day at work, and then comes back and he's got a. So now it's just the car. I'm not going to say who it is or which car it is, but it's the car. The model's got a very small battery, and I know he'd be, you know, even if he was down to zero, he'd be charged. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Is it a Tesla?
No.
Oh, right.
So, but if he's charging every day, I don't know where he's driving after work every afternoon that he's, you know, depleting the battery so much. But I'm actually presuming that, you know, he's going there with 80% already, just plugging it in, getting his 20%, which he probably gets in an hour, hour and a half, and then the car sits there for another 6 or 7 hours until he gets back from work, and then drives the car home. So
and you don't even have to pay $2 for parking at the train stations at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, don't you? Is it free parking?
It's been free parking since April the 14th.
Right. Cool. Oh, well, yeah, cool.
At least he's traveling in an electric vehicle of some sort.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because, as Pete says on that example, I've actually seen a certain car, and it's a Tesla actually, that was parked at Wellington Street RAC, you know, where the fast DC charger, and they've also got a Type 1 charger as well. And he just like rocked up, parked in the bay, didn't plug in anything, and just walked off to Harbour Town because it was convenient and free, and then came back about 3/4 of an hour later and just hopped in his car.
Just used it as a parking spot.
Yes, unfortunately.
So,
unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's not icing. What would we call that?
Well, there's
EV.
But there's also a term called an ice hole. You know, when people are ice holes.
Yes.
I don't know the EV equivalent of that.
I'd like to think that that's a self-correcting issue. As you know, more and more EVs get on the road, that person's going to know that they're doing the wrong thing.
I was going to say, perhaps people watching YouTube, all three of them, could just put a comment in the comment section. You know, what do you think is the EV equivalent of an ice hole? And as long as I keep the comments nice, it's all good. Is
one of those three you watching it back though, to make sure there's no issues?
Not even I I do suffer from a bit of insomnia, but you know, if I turned on this channel, I'd just be asleep in 3 seconds. I don't know. It's just no, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good content, really. And a big shout out to Damon, who will be watching this later. Thanks for all your efforts, mate. Although
we're all here still, so it can't be that boring. We got our Model 3 back on Monday, so very excited.
Oh, yes. So cool. So the details, please.
Yeah, so they ended up identifying as the high voltage controller. So they got that part in on Thursday. They installed it on Thursday. That was easy to install it. On Friday, they had to get it wouldn't allow the car to drive, so they had to grab the data from the old controller to put in the new controller.
Yes.
The main issue is that it doesn't know what the state of the charge is without the old data, which is like, I'm like, that's a bit weird because it shouldn't have onboard active monitoring of the battery system, but it doesn't know what state of charge it is. So they had to be with the engineers in the States to figure out how to do it. So we just got it back on Monday, so all good. But yeah, first one in Western Australia. So hopefully the next person that has the issue doesn't have the issue or the delay.
Right.
That.
So they didn't indicate this. So they're basically saying it's probably a very isolated issue.
There's only a few cases. It's not a common issue.
Yep.
Yep. Cars we've probably driven maybe 500 kilometers now, no issues as such. So
yeah, cool.
We're glad to have it back. So that's good. I know we were talking about connections before. We drove up to Kabara because we grabbed the charge, the 3-phase off you a while ago, probably 3 months ago.
Yep.
We were driving up to Geraldton on the night, and probably an hour out, we lost autopilot and also lost cruise control.
Yes.
It is connected.
Happened to me before as well.
In fact, I can tell you almost exactly where that would have happened. It would have been
a curve, and then we pulled over. We think, okay, we'll do a restart, get out of the car, and then okay, we lost our. Yeah, we went with 2 other cars as well, but we pulled over, and then we had forever trying to catch up. I thought, oh, maybe it's a computer issue, and then we drove back in the exact same issue as well. So okay, it's good to know that it is a connection issue probably. And it's the worst thing ever because I think losing autopilot is not a bad problem, but losing the cruise control and having to maintain the speed, that's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how the hell are you supposed to drive a car safely without autopilot and traffic-aware cruise control? It's appalling. I mean, you keep speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. It's just cruel. You know, I'm pretty sure I've basically forgotten how to drive a car, really.
It's pretty bad.
That's like going back to the Ice Age, Harold.
Oh, I might as well just, you know, cut a hole in the floor and, you know, get my little feet to, you know, push the car along. It's terrible.
So how did you fix it up? Reboot?
The reboot won't happen until it's probably, I don't know what the stretch is. It's probably 20, 30 kilometer stretch. So to be able to get it back, you've got to pull over, turn it off and get it back on. So you've got to, I don't know, I don't know the full extent, but yeah, we've lost signal connection with the satellite or whatever. And yep, it just died, and then we just pulled over the next stop. And then when we did, we had the brake and it just worked again.
Is that related to mobile coverage?
I don't know. It's we pay for the $10 a month, and so just before we went, we upgraded to that, and it still had the issue, obviously. So I don't know exactly what the issue is, but it's obviously connected to the internet and needing data. So I'm thinking, well, this area isn't too bad. We're talking about going up to Geraldton, probably 100 kilometers out. But if you're going up to Broome or somewhere else, there must be more than a few of those issues around. I'm not too sure.
No, there's not, because I've driven to Broome and Darwin and everywhere else, and no, there's no issue. It's just this weird thing on the way to Geraldton, and I've had the same thing. It's the same spot. It's where that there's an outlook. There's a whole lot of grass trees just near there, like it's like a bit of a slight valley, and there's all these grass trees, and it's all green depending on the season. And there's like a lookout thing just nearby, and it's just in that sort of area where it just cut. Well, for me, a few times it just cuts out.
Yeah, we cut off, and I think it was 5 kilometers back, and so we pulled into the inlet a few times.
Yep.
And tried to reset it, but obviously didn't. So yeah, good
Yeah.
to know it is an issue. So anyone heading up to Kabari, just gives them the heads up if they
It's
haven't
not
gone up.
anywhere near the square kilometre array up there, is it? You know,
No, and in fact, don't forget the SK. That's at Murchison. Well, it's sort of in that zone. Well, it's not quite that zone, but don't forget the SKA. They only listen. They don't talk. So it's very quiet there. So no, it's not the SKA. Definitely not. It's one of those weird. Whether it's a geo thing, like it's not data, because the car can cope perfectly well without any data at all. So, because if you're driving around Australia, and everyone should do it at least once in their life in an EV, once you hit the NT, there's no data, there's nothing, there's no signal. So it's almost weird. You get right up to the border in WA, and there's phone towers everywhere in the Kimberley. And as soon as you cross the border to the NT, there's nothing until the next roadhouse. And then at that roadhouse, there's about a 10-kilometre radius coverage, and that's it. Until the next one. And the car copes perfectly well. It's just this weird sort of, whether it's a geographic mapping anomaly or some weird thing. Yeah, it's funny you said that, Yun, because that's exactly what I've had that a few times, and I've been sort of annoyed enough to actually pull over, put the car in park, get out of the car, lock it, walk away, come back, hop in, and it's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we went to that full extent. We just went, and we didn't actually lock the car because we had other people in the car. And then we're like, oh, should we pull over? We're already 5 minutes behind everyone heading to Geraldton. I was like, oh no, we'll just drive and drive. Yeah, it was late.
Suffered.
So
You
yeah,
suffered for it.
but it was like, oh, it's actually quite nice to actually have to drive. Yeah.
Oh dear. Cool.
Hey, I just noticed the message. So FSD Beta is rolling out to Canada today. Apparently.
Who?
FSD for the full self-driving, the beta version after they did the rewrite. So this is where the car can make turns on traffic lights and apparently even navigate some roundabouts, which I wasn't actually expecting. I didn't think it would be able to handle roundabouts, but Elon said that, you know, maybe give it 12 months before it's perfect around roundabouts, but yeah. And he can even detect, you know, parked cars, drive around parked cars, and even obstacles. So in the road, apparently.
Yeah, I think it was Tesla owner Silicon Valley, or Tesla Raj, went for a 50-mile drive without having to take
Intervention.
over. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty bloody good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Was there any roundabouts on that journey? Do you remember, Nigel?
I didn't watch it all. I did get the impression a lot of it was up the freeways.
Right.
As long as it can handle clockwise and anti-clockwise roundabouts, it should work.
At the same time?
Oh, God.
What's that famous roundabout in the UK?
Piccadilly Circle?
Yes.
Yeah, there's one at Hemel Hempstead.
Spaghetti
Which
Yeah,
is
Hampstead, that's the one, yes. Yeah.
Hemel Hempstead. Yeah, I've been around that many times. It's got about 6 roundabouts around a roundabout.
Yes, but aren't some of them contra flow? Like they actually, some go clockwise and others go anti-clockwise. The feed-in ones go the opposite direction.
It depends upon where you enter. Yeah.
Is that right in Hemel Hempstead?
I think it's on the outskirts. I'll ask the wife. She knows.
Yeah, it's a world famous. It's got the main roundabout and about at least 5 baby roundabouts orbiting around it. But I think some of those orbiting ones go in the reverse direction. Because I think the actual intersection is made up of about 6 or 7 roads coming in, like as like spokes into this grand intersection.
Yeah, it's just outside Hemel Hempstead on the main road up from London. So she says, but
Down to London. Up from London.
Well, we'll have to.
Hemel Hempstead North.
Yeah.
There's a UK YouTuber did it with a Tesla, but it didn't work. But he tried.
Have you got a thing for that? Have you got the link for that?
It's Tesla driver. It's the one that ended up with the news thing saying that the police were onto him because he was driving not in control or something. And the newspapers actually blew it up. It wasn't actually, he didn't actually even get contacted by the police at all. But yes, he does a lot of YouTube videos, and it's called The Magic Roundabout. So he's called Tesla Driver. He's on YouTube, and one of his videos was The Magic Roundabout. He did it at like 5 a.m. in the morning, so there was no one else on the roundabouts. But you can see the whole layout of it and how you try and go around it. I know of it. I've actually driven around it before, though.
Is it this one?
Oh wow!
Oh my goodness!
I just googled Hemel Hempstead roundabout, and that's what came up.
St Albans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've driven around it many times.
Joe, did you ever drive around it when we all lived back there?
I didn't do that one, no.
No, I don't remember it either, but I would have been nearby.
That's the video of it.
Oh, maybe I have done it.
So notice how it's contraflow.
Who on earth came up with that?
Good idea.
Oh look, you can go from A to B 2 different ways. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Just get the kids to do the driving test in this, and if they can
Yeah.
get it.
Look at this. How good's this?
That's like
Holy
spaghetti.
moly. Can you imagine someone coming into the design room saying, "Hey everyone, I've got an idea. You're gonna love it."
That's just mad.
Actually, it works quite well when you're going through it.
Oh,
It must.
It looks.
Yeah.
It
I
looks
mean,
like it.
Wouldn't want to get stuck in the middle there, would you?
God.
Why would you not just have one massive roundabout?
Yeah.
That would be no fun.
Round the Arc de Triomphe.
Wow. That's so Joe, you were saying, so obviously this guy so that's the acid, that's obviously the ultimate acid test for FSD, is if it can do that intersection, then it can literally do everything.
Yeah.
That's that's pretty trippy.
Imagine that in Rome.
Yeah, you'd have what about 300 mopeds all filtered all around.
Imagine that in Bali.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Oh dear, oh dear. Cool.
Well, I might nod off.
Yeah, well maybe we might do an early night tonight. It's been a big day. It's been a long day.
Yes.
And we haven't even mentioned SpaceX getting 4 crew members up to the ISS. Look behind me.
Nigel's been trying to send us signals for the last 3 hours.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And we haven't picked it up. Yes, that was awesome. That was a quick 27-hour trip. I think that
27 and a half hours.
27 and a half. And the first flight was cancelled because of, was that weather? I think it was weather.
It was weather, yeah.
Yeah, because that was going to be a lot quicker.
Not COVID.
No, not Elon's man flu.
Oh, that's something else we didn't read. That's the other elephant in the room we never mentioned either. So has that been confirmed that he has it, or does he not?
It has. He's tweeted now that it has, because that
Right.
PCR test apparently detected it in under 20 cycles, which confirms that he either has it or had it. So, but yeah, he said with that Dayquil, it felt like the lightest, or whatever the adjective was, quickest, least harmful flu or cold that he's ever had. So I hope he's not talking too early, but
Yeah, indeed, because as we've all heard, you can get pretty bad after about day 14. I think it's one of those.
No,
days.
it's about day 7 that you can go downhill. Between day 7 and 10, you can
okay.
dramatically go downhill.
I was speaking to a friend, and so they've got friends in New York, and it's a family of 3. And so the father had it, and he was quite bad. He didn't have to go to emergency or anything, but he was basically bedbound. The mother had it, but she had no symptoms. She didn't even, if she didn't get tested, she wouldn't have known that she had anything. And then one day she lost her sense of smell and her sense of taste.
Yep.
But that was the only thing that she had. And then they had the son, who had sort of felt like he had 2 bouts of it. So, he was really bad, and then he fell on top of the world, and then 2 days later he got even worse. So, three members of the same family at the same time, 3 completely different reactions.
Yeah, well, let's hope that Elon, as much as it seems he's having a good experience at the moment, let's just hope that just stays, and he's someone that dodges a bullet.
He seems to be a little bit, Trumpian, shall we say, in his response.
Sometimes,
yeah. He doesn't seem to put much, weight to the whole thing. Maybe that's, his economic viewpoint with, Tesla shutting down if they, did properly shut down America. But
that's what I was going to say.
I think the guys are brilliant.
I don't think it's that. I think he genuinely thinks that. So he's not. So he is underplaying it. So it'd be wrong to say that he isn't. But I think he genuinely believes that it's not as bad as it's made out to be. On that Josh Rogan show, the second one, not the famous first one, but the second one, he went into a bit of depth about saying that, and I'm not, by the way, saying that I agree with it at all, but this is just what he was saying, is that that there's a lot of hospitals which are run by private companies in the US, and they all had to shut down to make capacity for COVID. So, and apparently some of these hospitals were sitting there for weeks and weeks on end and not being able to derive any revenue and not being able to service any patients unless they were acute. But if a patient was classed as having COVID, then not only were they allowed to treat him or her, but they were also able to get some sort of an incentive from the government. So a free respirator or whatever it may be. Mm. So he was saying that people would come, he was basically trying to make the point that you could be in you could be suffering of a heart attack, be in a car accident, be run over, come into the hospital, and one of this, you only had to exhibit one of the symptoms of COVID, and one of those was apparently lack of breath. And he said, well, if you're about to die, you're going to have lack of breath. So they would tick that as a box, put them down as COVID. So what he was saying is that it's amazing that, heart attacks have gone down, all these, ailments, all the statistics have miraculously disappeared, but COVID went up sharply. So
that might be the case in America, but you only got to look at all the other countries. I mean, in England, for a start, they were getting overwhelmed a little bit with cases and so on. And you've just asked the 1 million that we know of that have died from COVID, whether it was horrible or not.
Yeah,
exactly. I know so many people back in the UK that have had it, and only one of them I know that is, only one of my mates has actually ended up in hospital. There'd be another 10 that just dealt with it at home, didn't become any statistic.
I
What-
think
what's-
he's
what's-
a victim of the American system more than anything, because their hospital system is just
Oh, it's shocking.
Ignore America; they're useless.
yeah. And so I think he's-
Except for Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
He's
Look,
not an engineer, but I think his attitude to medical issues is, or his
Well,
understanding of medical issues is a little bit off.
he's going to see it as an engineer does, but it does make me think that if Musk does die, I can see Tesla becoming like Apple, like a couple of little innovations here and there, but basically just turning the profit lever to max and just milking it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
it's such a shame what happened with Apple.
Yeah.
They were supposed to have a driverless electric car.
Yeah.
You know, that's been rumored for what, 5-6 years. Yeah.
They need, I can see the same thing happening. So I hope he gets better.
Yeah. But on what's dangerous on the other side of this is what's being reported now quite a lot is that there's a lot of people, you know, on their deathbed as a result of COVID, and you know, still sort of looking at you know, the nurses and doctors and asking why you're wearing all this protection.
Yeah.
You know, don't you know there is no such thing as COVID?
This is the power of propaganda and how easy people are to manipulate.
It's just incredible what's happening in the US with that. So.
Conspiracy theories really do give me the shit.
I think it's probably in line for a transformation. I think it's just gone to ridiculous levels. I can see systems coming in now. Yeah, I think you can already see Twitter and Facebook starting to address these issues, and I think it's going to be the tip of the iceberg for going right now. We've had enough now. It's just got ridiculous.
But see, what's going to happen, and I mean, the Rupert Murdoch, you know, media's got a lot to answer for in this. But what they're thinking is, you know, with Trump with 70 million Twitter followers, he's going to start up his own. You know, Fox is too left-leaning for him now.
Let him do it. It will be hilarious.
So he's going to start up his extreme right. You know, or it's his. You can't even call it extreme right. What is it? It's just, you know, his own Trumpism.
Idiot.
Idiot. Yeah. Go
TV station. Yeah.
He's not even an idiot. He's an idiot.
What's that, Pete?
He's an idiot.
Idiot. Well, just put all of those people off in one corner. They'll all end up fighting against each other anyway, and then it won't be a problem.
But yeah, there's just the numbers is just amazing how he can. Yeah, I don't get it.
I have a theory.
The Yanks are as thick as bricks, and a little bit of bullshit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Except he's got truckloads of it.
I'd like to think it's not true, but I have a feeling he's actually an evil genius, and he's not as stupid as everyone thinks he is. Because you don't get the groundswell without having some understanding of how to capture people and get their fervor up. I reckon there's got to be something to Trump that.
The problem is he's the classic anti-establishment. Like, you know, it was drain the swamp and you know, all these career politicians and blah blah blah. But I dare say, if you're a classic narcissist, that just works well with what you're doing. It's all about him.
Oh yeah. And
unfortunately, if you dismantle all of the apparatus around you, all of the, you know, the respect for media, respect for government, respect for the bureaucracy, respect for the law, only bad things are going to happen. You know, it's, you know, you doubt everything. You know, there's a guy that he's a comedian that is big into maths, not the Aussie guy. I forget his name. And anyway, he basically dismantled. There was a YouTube video that was discussing how there was these alleged stolen votes because they plotted there was a plot of Republican voters who voted for Trump, and from all these different counties. And if 80% of voters voted for the Republican Party, then somehow 20% of them only had voted for Trump, and that wasn't making sense. And there was like all these stolen votes. But they'd actually plotted two different percentages on the X and Y axis. And you can't subtract percentages because it depends on what the total proportion is. And all he did was, he goes, with a bit of simple maths, he goes, if you did it properly, you'd show a perfect correlation of there were no stolen votes. But unfortunately, people watch these YouTube videos and they just believe it because, what's that thing where 100% of people that drank dihydrogen oxide in the 1800s are dead. And it's like, yeah, that's
really?
because they've died of old age. But 100% of those people who drank dihydrogen oxide are dead.
Pretty good.
Well, they should have diluted it with whiskey.
They did used to do that, Nigel, in the old days. They used to make beer because they didn't realise that. I think you always boil the wort, probably to get better taste. And they didn't realise that boiling the water made it safe. And also putting, alcohol in it makes it even safer. But yeah,
makes it a lot better. What are you drinking there, Harry? Harold? Yes.
See, because I actually got a T-shirt that says that unlike cake, I can drink Corona and have it as well.
Hey.
But, and when I tweeted it out, I didn't get anywhere near as many likes as I thought I would. But anyway, maybe I thought I was too clever. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So we're sort of ending the night on a bit of a controversial. Well, we've glazed over the 4 astronauts and SpaceX, and straight into US politics. Oh yes, and Nigel has been indicating. I thought you meant something else a second ago there, but yeah, there you go. But where's this capsule? I can't see it, Nigel. It's not there. It can't be true.
No, but that's the camera on the ISS looking out at the Earth.
Indeed.
And there's also been a lot of talk about the Teslarati. What do you think about that?
Which one?
Well, the actual website or?
Teslarati?
Yeah.
No, it was on Elon Musk's tweeting.
Not sure what you mean. You mean about him tweeting in general?
Well, he was tweeting about the Tesla being comparative to the Maserati. So he's calling it Teslarati.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. You had us confused because Teslarati is actually one of the Tesla news websites. It's actually teslarati.com.
Okay.
Well, I haven't heard of the Teslarati as far as the blend between that and Maserati.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting.
Someone tweeted.
One thing I did see today
because of the speed.
Yes.
Yes.
One thing
Tesla's a lot faster.
Oh,
Full
yes.
stop, hands down.
Absolutely.
Yes.
One thing
All
I
right.
saw.
Well, good night, gents. We'll talk
Carmen.
further, no doubt.
No worries, Carmen. Yeah, well, might see you on Saturday
See
for
you
the
at the
AGM.
Yes, I'll have a look at the email and see
Yes.
if I can manage it.
Yeah.
I'm in. I think I'm doing an apartment near the brewery at that time, so it's not that far.
Yeah, Oxford Street, Leederville's not. It's sorry, the Oxford Hotel in Leederville.
Yes, I know it well.
Oh, yeah. But no, you're more than welcome. And even if it's just a drop in, I mean, the AGM starts at 12:30, and it will be quite brief. It'll probably go for about 10-15 minutes tops, and then we'll get into because we're not doing a dry, corporate whatever. We've got a few resolutions, a couple of special resolutions which are going to alter our constitution to vote on. but they don't take too long, and they're uncontroversial. One is we want to be able to constitutionally appoint a life member, or should I say life members, sometime in the future. And the way our constitution's currently written, it does contemplate that. But what we wanted was for a life member to have voting rights, the same rights as a ordinary financial member.
Right.
Because that's a nice thing to have. So that's one of the resolutions we want to vote on. And that requires, because we're altering the constitution, that requires a 3/4 agreement. And the other one was off the top of my head. Just to alter currently we've got to get a quorum, we need 15% of members.
Oh, that's
which
1-5 or 5-0?
No, 1-5.
Okay.
Which initially doesn't sound like many, but the problem is as the club grows, and we are growing quite quickly now, it's difficult to get the very newest members to maybe attend an AGM because they figure, it's just a dry event and it's not that important. But it can become important because 15% of a large number becomes a lot of people.
Yes.
And obviously, if we didn't have a quorum, it's easily fixed because the Constitution says all you do is you just adjourn the meeting till the same day the next week. And effectively, whoever turns up then, after half an hour, becomes the quorum. But, we want to avoid that sort of circumstance. So what we're recommending is that we change it from 15% to 15 people, which is still, obviously, the more that turn up to any AGM, the better.
That's quite good if you compare it to the strata AGMs.
Oh, that can be very fraught. That's exactly right. Yes. So we're trying to make that a bit more reasonable. So we've only got those two resolutions, which is, to be able to appoint life members and the quorum numbers.
Okay.
And that's uncontroversial.
And have you sent out proxy forms?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So
I was about to ask about proxy because I can't make it. I've booked the whole day.
That's totally cool.
Say, what about sending a proxy?
Yes, so I'll make sure I send you out a proxy. The way our constitution is written is a bit complicated. You can only any one ordinary member can only hold 5 proxies. So we'll have to sort of, like you can nominate like a proxy to say me, the secretary, but I can only have 5.
Yes.
Well, then we can leave the name blank, and you can fill out your name 5 times, Rob's name 5 times.
Well, we'll work that out properly. So if there's quite a few, we don't actually need that many proxies, or actually I don't think we actually need any, but certainly, I will post up a proxy form on the website tomorrow at the latest.
And email it out.
And email out that I've done that. Yes.
A quick question, Harold. How many members do we have? Just roughly.
We're getting towards a couple of hundred. Now it gets technical as to each member that applies and pays. We have to actually ratify the members at the next committee meeting. So even though we've actually got probably a couple of hundred, we've probably got about 20 or more that haven't been ratified since the last meeting. So they're not technically members yet, but they certainly will be as soon as we hold our first committee meeting after the AGM. And there are a couple of members that aren't financial at the moment that will. They've just lapsed. They just haven't paid their membership, but they will. So there's a grace period of 3 months. And there's a few stragglers that will obviously renew, but there'll be a brief period where they're technically not members, or not voting members, sorry.
Well, normally you can't vote unless you're a
financial member.
Yeah. And in our constitution, you are still financial up to 3 months after your membership was due.
Wow, that's very generous.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just because people have got busy lives and,
oversight.
Time to,
Hey, Harold, just a suggestion.
Yes, Pete.
So just a suggestion, because yeah, people often forget, or if it's an annual thing, and it'd be great if you could just prepay 5 years of membership or something in one swoop, and then not have to worry about it for 5 years.
That's a very good suggestion.
Until they want to put the price up.
No, well, we don't see. We used to actually.
Price has actually gone down.
Yeah, I know it went from 50 to 20.
Yeah, we used to charge 50, and then we worked out that we actually don't need that much money, which is kind of, I guess, in the corporate world is very strange. But we figured, well, we don't really need that money because there's lots of suckers on the committee that will just donate stuff anyway. So,
stop pointing the finger at yourself, Harold.
No, so we put it down to $20, and that's tons. That mainly pays our insurance, and that's the most important thing, obviously, and a couple of adapters and whatever. So yeah, actually, Pete, that's a great idea. I mean, we'd be happy to. I think that's a great idea, and it's probably not that difficult to do on our website because we have got a proper membership website. So yeah, absolutely. 5 years in advance, it's only $100. It's it's 2 cartons of Corona.
Another thing to mention, this is where I got really confused. So a year ago, or just over a year ago, just before I got my Model 3, I signed up and paid my membership, but at the time it was actually to Toka and rather than to Tokwa.
Yes.
And I think I understand the history or some of it, but
hang on, hang on 2 seconds, Pete. I'll just yes. Sorry, Pete.
No, so yeah, I actually was a member of Toka, TOCA, for over a year before I got my Model 3, thinking I was actually a member of Tokwa.
Yep.
And not actually realizing that I was a financial member of Toka until several weeks ago. So when it came to renew, and I couldn't actually log into Tokwa, and I couldn't work out why. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, unfortunately, because there's that similarity in the acronyms and the names, Tesla Owners Club Australia or Western Australia. One good thing was, even if you're a member of Toka, we've actually, as a committee, we've had a resolution, I think it was like 18 months ago, that any financial member of any Tesla Owners Club throughout the world, so whether it's Toka or anywhere else in the world, when they come and visit or are in WA, they enjoy the same rights as our financial members. So we sort of offer that full reciprocity of rights. So
that's fantastic.
Even though
very generous.
Yeah, so even though inadvertently, you were sort of the member of the wrong club, so to speak, or not this club, because you're a member of a properly sanctioned Tesla Owners Club, you get the same rights anyway. So, but we're obviously happy and really happy to have you at our club. But yeah, like I said, anyone throughout the world who's a member of a Tesla Owners Club gets to borrow our adapters, gets to obviously come on our Ask Us Anythings, which is what this is. And of course, as we all know, anyone, even someone who's never owned a Tesla, can come on to this sort of stuff and actually go to all our casual meetups, because the whole point is to spread the word, to get more Teslas bought and driven around this great state, and the more the better for all of us. So but thanks for coming to us later. It's cool. It doesn't matter.
I thought I always was.
Well, it was cool because
I thought I was always here.
and the thing is, you didn't even notice a difference, because I remember when you came to the Galaxy Drive-In, or it was actually the car park around the corner.
Yes.
And you were the crazy guy that was going to the bloke, oh look, just go and drive my car. It doesn't matter. You can just hop in and drive it. And a lot of the other Tesla owners are going, "Ooh, wow, Pete's really, pretty
Oh,
right."
were they? Oh no! I made sure I got his driver's license details first, and I think that gentleman's name might be Peter Harris from memory.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was that you, Pete?
Yeah.
It was.
Oh,
I rocked up in my old Audi from the Third Reich.
Yeah.
But I got your driver's license details, and I put them in on the web browser just to make sure that it was still insured if you were to put it into a tree somewhere.
So what you didn't realize, Pete Petrosky, was that Pete Harris had already hotspotted his clandestine domain name server onto your car and had already diverted.
Well, with his technical knowledge, I wouldn't put that past him. But he actually told me while he was driving the car that he used to be a race car driver. So they used to race cars, so that made me a lot more comfortable.
Right, that's right, right.
A Mini Cooper S, which I thought was pretty quick. Holy moly!
So Pete, does that mean that after you drove Pete's car, that you basically went and ordered one?
I did. I went home on my phone. I'm going to have one of these.
Awesome. See,
I did.
If you can sit in it, you will buy it. That's what happens.
Yep, I
Magic.
concur.
And you know how to
Yeah.
charge it, then you'll start wanting other people to have one.
Yes.
Sorry.
What a
Mate,
great.
Not enough just to say it's great. You have to be able to answer the how do you charge it question. That's always helped.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's exactly right. But there's that experience of being in the car, and you'll never go back. None of us will ever go back to an ICE car, because why would you want to have to put your foot down and not quite know what's going to happen next? It's just, they're
I'm
just
gonna
awesome.
start off, but I look forward to talking more about Cabaret stuff next week, especially
Oh, yes.
if there's any benefit to bringing our wall charger. Might bring that.
No, Seb, you don't need to, because we're going to have all of that sort of stuff sorted. So don't worry about it. We're, like I was saying before, where there's that charging location, we're going to have a 3-way split, and then we're going to have 3 chargers there that everyone can use.
I wasn't here for when you guys start talking about that bit, but that's good to know that.
Yeah. So no, that's all sorted. So Kalbarri is completely sorted as far as charging while you're there. So
We'll travel that. We'll just bring the universal mobile charger like everyone
yes,
should.
exactly. Yes, yeah. And I'll have a couple more of those made up as well with the adapters, so you can just plug it into your UMC and just charge. But we'll also have proper chargers there as well, so it'll be well catered for. And what we'll probably discuss next week is what we'll do. Like there's some walk where you go off the canyon or whatever, the gorge or something. And obviously we'll do the Saturday night dinner. But for you, Seb, we'll more than happily have a couple of drinks on the Friday night, or whatever you want to do. So it's all good.
Cool.
I was just thinking, would it be an idea to, instead of boring everyone else on the call that's not actually going, to just set up a Zoom call for everyone that's going, and then we can just discuss?
Yep. Yes.
Or not,
Yep.
or is that too hard?
No, that's really easy, because the good thing about this Zoom code is it's a permanent code, so we can use it anytime we like. And what I will also do is set up a temporary WhatsApp group, which will be useful when we're there to communicate, hey, what are you doing, or whatever. So we'll just be talking amongst the participants.
Very
and
good
whilst
idea.
we're driving up as well, who's ahead of you, who's behind, and
Yeah, in case someone breaks down.
if you break down, who's coming up next to help.
Yeah, and exactly, or if someone's running late or early or whatever, and just to discuss what they want to do, in the next 3 hours or the next day or whatever. So yes, I'll have that set up. That's another reason why in the try booking thing, I wanted you to put your phone numbers in, so that and addresses and all that sort of stuff. So that, yeah, but the phone number will be for a temporary WhatsApp group for that trip. And then we'll probably implement that in all the future trips, because at our Coolin one thing I sort of learned is, we were basically texting amongst each other or whatever, and it was all a bit fraught. So it's a lot easier just to have a common group with rapid communication. So yeah, we'll do that.
Good thinking, Lincoln.
Actually, that wasn't even me. That was my good wife that thought of that. So I'll really give Rochelle the credit for that. But
Sarah and I doing the thinking, the organising things rather than just how to charge our cars. We're like, well, where are we going to eat and how are we going to meet up?
That's women's business.
Women, yeah.
We only need to know where we can drink.
Well, no, we're sort of hunters, so we're hunting for a charging spot. But yeah, we're not gathering where to have beer and food and other entertainment, so tours and all that sort of stuff. So,
well, I better have a look on Google Maps. The last time I was in Kalbarri was in 1972, and I think it might have changed a bit since then.
1972. I don't know if I could actually say the word Kalbarri at that age, but being a little toddler that I was.
We honeymooned in a caravanette.
Right.
A 1-ton trailer with a tent on top.
Sounds like the perfect honeymoon to me.
Yeah, well, we were only there for 2 days, and Pam decided she wanted to work on the house, so we came home.
Good idea.
Anyway.
Good idea. I think on that note, we might call it a bit of a night.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a long one tonight. It's 10:30. That's 3.5 hours. That's a pretty good effort.
Well, you do use
sorry, it's 4 hours. 3 hours. 3 hours.
If you use Zoom link on Saturday for the AGM, just let us know via email, because I might be able to join if you do run a Zoom call during the AGM.
Oh, I wasn't planning, but we could. We actually could. Well, actually, there's no reason why we couldn't. Yeah, we could do it on a mobile phone. We could actually do that.
Especially if you're short on people that aren't there, just get people to dial in. Does that work, or do they have to be physically there for them to count?
No. We've actually, our constitution is written so you can do electronic, which is a good thing. So yes, you could dial in, absolutely. So we can set that up as well. But I'll send out an email with proxies, so you could just, if you want to just make it easy, just send a proxy, or dial in. So we could do that as well. So that'd be cool.
I'd have to send a proxy because I'm just busy. No chance of doing a dial-in or anything.
No, totally cool. Totally cool. I mean, we'll miss you dearly, but it's okay.
No, you won't.
You've been very quiet tonight, Ashley. Are you all right?
Say bye.
Your microphone's turned off.
See you, Joe.
Now we know why you've been so quiet. Your microphone's been.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. I've just come out of hospital last week.
Just hang on 2 secs, Ash. What I might just do is say thanks for coming, everyone. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please remember to subscribe. Click subscribe, like, and hit the notification button. And we will see you next week.